Mysteries of Egypt, Part 3. You are listening to Brothers of the Serpent podcast.
Nailed it.
Cut.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, angels and demons and monsters and serpents. This is Brothers of the Serpent podcast, and we are coming to you not live from the 10 by 10 by 10 tangent cube of science, where we are nestled amongst the dusty bones of an ancient seabed high atop the Edwards Plateau. And we are joined in studio by Laura of the intros.
Hi.
So we are going to discuss Egypt. We're kind of getting back into the swing of the podcast. So this, unlike the last two episodes, this one will have, the final segment. We'll talk about, we'll give you some ag updates and maybe rock and roll, whatever. And also space weather news and all that stuff. But meanwhile, back in the studio, just us and Laura, of course.
Yes.
The three of us, the original Snake Bros podcasters.
The good old days.
Yeah.
We don't have the Watcher.
We don't have the
Right.
Watcher.
Well, I mean, Watcher isn't original, man. I mean, he isn't. He got added later. So, but yes, the Watcher was on a 48-hour shift, and he is exhausted tonight, so he can't be here. Get some rest, buddy. While Kyle cracks a beer.
But we don't really just do this unless I come on the podcast.
Just do what?
Just us three just hang out and talk about this. We are so busy in all
That's
of the...
right.
Right,
Yeah.
like we're together all the time, but we're so busy in all the stuff that we're doing. We don't really just...
We don't hang out and talk pyramids.
Yeah. So, lay it on me, guys.
Well,
Hold on. We got to do this.
I know, we have
Oh, wait, no. The
housekeeping.
intro stuff goes at the end
It
now.
goes at the end, yeah.
You're right. We
Yeah.
got to lay it on her.
Gotta lay it on her. Well, I'll start by some broad overview again. I just want to give some impressions. Again, this is the second time in Egypt. Hopefully there will be many more, but I was even more impressed this time by having to look through the cultural layers. The Sphinx really brought that home to me because it's modern all the way back, and so you're looking through all the dynasties. Everybody's been messing with this thing for forever, and then of course the oldest parts. As you're standing there, and it's towering above you, or at least in my mind, I'm like, this could be 30,000 years old.
Yeah.
At its base. I don't know how old so we had Chuck on last week, and the only thing he would say was when we're talking about how old are you talking about, he said very. And for a geologist, that's a strong statement. That could mean 500 million years old. I don't think that's what he meant. Of course, I'm sure he was talking in the context of human civilization.
Yeah, I think so.
So more as in anthropology rather than geology, very old. But it's very strange because it's like you're struck by this incredible mystery, but it's just sort of shrouded in more modern things. So you're kind of having to peel back the layers mentally, right? You can't obviously do it physically. And then also more and more struck by how many things are unfinished. So even you see dynastic projects that just didn't get completed in many cases. And you can see they had this huge building plan and they were working on it. And then there's just a few things that they didn't quite complete. And you can tell that it was part of the original plan, like columns that were stacked up. The column drums were stacked up, but it wasn't carved down into the shape that the rest of the columns are in the hall. So clearly not finishing these projects and then those projects staying unfinished for all time up until the present day is not unique to this very ancient civilization that we might be looking at. We got to go into the Serapeum twice because we went early before the tour started with Yusuf. So Kyle and Ben and I met up with Yusuf and Hugh Newman, and we got to go into the Serapeum, and that was great. And again, with that one, I'm also struck with how big the project was.
Yeah.
I mean, each individual box, and so we'll go through this in more detail as the show progresses, but each individual box is immense. And then you're like, there's like 26 of these things in here or whatever. And then all the tunnels, it's a massive complex, and there may be more of it that we don't see. So again, like with the pyramids, it's just amazing. You're thinking about the pyramids and you're thinking about these projects. It's just like they thought on this enormous scale. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And of course, the question comes up every time, like, what is this for? What is the purpose?
Yeah, why all those boxes in there?
Yeah, almost all of it is like that. The only thing I don't ask that question about is the temples.
The temples, right.
But pretty much everything else, you're just like, what is this for? What is this doing here?
But, I was listening to the last show, and some of the stuff you were saying about the temples, there's this idea maybe that, well, okay, I guess what you were talking about was you were talking about this ball of granite that you found beneath the step pyramid. Mm-hmm. And you were saying, if the people that made the step pyramid and all these tunnels below it made the vases, why did they bring this weird ball of granite down there?
So did I tell you about this?
Maybe.
The ball of granite is basically like a preform of what would be a stone vase. Like they basically roughly shape a piece of granite into a ball, then they could put it on a lathe and spin it and carve a vase out of it. That's what I was thinking. I mean, it's roughly the size of so many of the vases.
Of the bowls or vases.
And the bowls.
I vaguely remember.
Yeah. So the idea is that if the people who made the vases were the ones who put them down under the step pyramid, why would they bring a preformed ball that wasn't a vase yet? It makes it look like all of these things were artifacts in ancient at that time when they brought them down there. Okay. So, of course, they had a preform. It's just like when I'm collecting arrowheads. I'm always looking for the perfect ones. But if I find a preform piece of flint that they had shaped to prepare to make an arrowhead out of it, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is awesome preform. I've got a huge pile of them.
Yep, you do. You do.
I didn't make any of it.
So that made me start thinking about the idea of museums. And I'm trying to remember if so it was someone either in our Discord or maybe on the YouTube comments. I'm sorry if I can't remember where it was, but somebody made a comment about this, and I thought it was genius. And they're like, thousands of years from now, archaeologists will dig up the British Museum and wonder if these people made all these artifacts.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was rethinking because you were talking about the temples, and you're like, it's like you go into these temples and all the walls and the columns and everything are telling you these stories about these gods and these, there's a story to the temple, but then as you're walking through the temple physically, then you find this weird artifact in the temple that doesn't match the rest of the construction of the temple. These strange granite things that are precisely cut, and they're either, sometimes there's a big granite slab right at the entryway, and almost every one of these temples we went to were told again and again, like, this is built on on older sites. So these temples were built and rebuilt. They fall down, or they were torn down. They were rebuilt again. So in a lot of cases, we know that there was something else there before what we're looking at now was there. So possibly certainly there was remnants of that thing, and then they used pieces of it. And so the temples seem to be honoring something older in almost every case in some way. And when you were talking about how the temple's telling you this story, I'm thinking, like, when you go in a museum, you get the same thing. It's not written on the walls, but you have stuff in the walls, you have stuff inside the museum. They're in their own special places, and they've got plaques that tell you, here's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, the step pyramid is the same way. You go down there and it's not a museum that you could go into, probably. That's not the idea, but they were housing artifacts that they had collected from somewhere.
What were the contents of the vases? Remember was it
Revelation of the
Revelation
Pyramid?
of the Pyramid,
She said,
yeah.
we didn't look at the vases, we only looked at the contents.
So what was in them?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you guys get to play Indiana Jones song at any point this time?
I didn't do it this time. Yeah.
I think we sang it a number of
Oh,
times.
yeah, we were singing it.
In the pyramids when you were in there?
I don't think it was in the pyramid, but we definitely did it in the Osirian. And then other people picked it up, and then you could hear it randomly going through the group. You know, we're doing something, somebody's like, dun, 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 dun. See, you have to leap across something or whatever.
Well, I listened to the last Patreon that we did together after you came back from your last Egypt trip. And I have a follow-up question for you.
Okay.
Remember my interview, my amazing interview?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yes.
So you had goals, each of you had goals going back this time of things that you were wanting to do.
Yeah.
How did that work out?
I set my goals too high, babe.
Let's hear. I want to hear. I mean, I listened to this show with Ben, but I haven't. Sorry, Marty and Chuck, I haven't gotten through it yet. But I'm gonna listen to it. I started it. I did the beginning, but I did listen with Ben. But anyway, yeah, I want to know, how's it?
You want me to go?
Yeah.
You're both gonna have to go.
Well, so one of my goals was to map the Serapeum in such a way that I could associate which boxes with which alcoves, you know, by their features, and also have that so that I knew what pictures I was taking. Like when I look into my photos, the pictures that I took of the boxes were not in any random order. They were in an exact, like, first box, second box, they're all the way down and all the way in one single, you know, motion through the entire Serapeum. And as I was doing it, I was drawing a map and kind of writing a few little minor detail, just a detail that I would notice about the box that would make it distinct. So now I can look at my map, I can go to my photos, and I know the very first box that I took a picture of is this one. And if I got into it, there would also be an associated video of the inside or pictures and all that kind of stuff, so that I can say, here's all of the features that I have recorded of this box in this place. So when I go back next time, all of the boxes that I looked at and videoed and took pictures of and got inside of, I won't focus on those. Next time I'll go to the ones that I have not
That's cool.
been inside of and try to get in them. So that was very successful, I feel like. But I was surprised at how worn out I was after getting in and out of only 5 of them. So I think I did 7 total, but 2 were the first time we went, and then the 5 were the day we had it, you know, for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I was worn out.
What about the banging on the walls plan?
Banging on the walls.
Resonant frequency?
No, I don't have that. That was not in my plan. I did that last time just to kind of like hear. I did that on one box.
I'm pretty sure your plan was to go back and bang on more walls on the boxes.
Oh, so he said that on the Patreon episode you listened
Oh,
to?
I see
Okay,
that.
plans changed.
Forgot about that plan.
Okay.
Failed again, babe. Totally forgot that plan. So again, there was only so much I could do. Like after I started scanning stuff, then I was like, I'm gonna scan the Serapeum.
That's true.
And I got in there and I started
When
scanning.
you made that plan last time, I don't think you had the whole
Yeah.
scanning thing down. You
Well,
didn't have, yeah. so-
My point is I started scanning and I realized this is going to take way too long and I won't have any chance to do what I really came here for. So I stopped scanning and then went to do the other goal, which I feel very good about. The other goal I had was to climb the well shaft in the Great Pyramid, and that's the one I was just like, nope. I was like all gung-ho in the beginning of the trip, like, I want to do this. Then Ben showed me a video of somebody who did do this, Christian.
What do you
And then
mean?
I was like,
Christian
do
climbed
this.
it in
What-
October.
Tell
Yeah.
me what. I don't know about it.
I could be
What
wrong,
happened to
but
him?
I think that he did it because he heard me talking about it. And he was like, I'll do it for you.
Okay.
Because he made a comment in the video. He's
Yeah.
like, Kyle, this tunnel basically goes to nowhere. I don't think it's worth your time. Like he was, you know, so it's like he went and did this recon for me
Okay.
to check it all out. And he videoed the whole thing. And I was watching that video just thinking, oh God, that looks really hard. I don't know if I want to do that.
That's
the
it?
closer we got to the the closer we got to the day, the more tired I was.
Okay.
And, there was also the bat situation, which I didn't want to get involved with.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
there's
think
definitely
you did-
bats in there.
I think you did tell me early on.
Yeah.
One of the times we spoke when you were there.
Well, I was
think
thinking
I
about
do
getting
remember.
a rabies shot before we
Wait, but didn't you
went.
say you did have like a little interaction with a bat or something?
Lots of bats, yeah,
Okay.
in the very beginning.
All right.
I do not like them. I don't like bats.
Now you know.
Flying
And I
rodents.
was thinking of this. You're in this tunnel, this small tunnel, and it's very steep, and you're hanging onto the walls, and here they come. Like, you can't put your hand, you can't do anything. You just have to hold on. So,
I would like to see this video of him doing it.
Yeah, I would like to see it again, too.
How do we just have to ask?
Ben has it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask.
So, yeah, I totally failed on that. I got more excuses, if you want.
Okay. It's just what are the other things that you we gotta get to Russ. We
my
gotta
back
move
was
on.
hurting. That's the most legit excuse I have.
Okay. And I understand that.
Because if that went out while I was up in that shaft, that would have been not
Yeah,
good.
that's true.
That would have been
I
really
understand
bad.
that.
So
Anything else that you were planning on doing that you accomplished?
I was planning on scanning stuff, and I feel I'm like real happy with the scans that I got.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I checked on your plans too.
What were my plans?
She knows our plans.
I don't know my plans.
Well, so I want to hear what were you wanting to do?
Well, I wanted to circumnavigate the 3 main pyramids on the plateau, which
Good
is
job,
kind
good
of an
answer.
unreasonable. It's kind of an unreasonable thing to want to do it, especially in one day or on a tour where you've got a couple of hours. So we did circle Minkara, the small one. I set off to circle the Great Pyramid. And
I may have messed this whole plan up. That actually might be my fault.
well, no,
But I'm glad my interrogation is over.
no, it's not your
was talking
fault.
about
It's not your fault because what happened is
back.
I told Ben what was happening? It was the
We
Osiris
had
shaft.
an hour left.
Yeah, it was the Osiris shaft, right? People were still coming out of there. Is that
Oh,
what
yeah,
it was?
Maybe it was.
Yeah. People were still coming out of there, and we were done with it. And I was like, I kind of want to go do this. Can we go do that? Maybe, I don't know which day. I can't remember which day it was on, but I was like, I want to walk around this pyramid. And I asked Ben, I was like, can Kyle and I kind of sneak off and go do this real quick? Real quick, which is, it's no matter what, it's not going to be a real quick thing.
We had an hour.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And he said, sure. But then as I was walking off, he was like, hey, do you want to take people with you? And I was like, okay.
I wonder what the immediate answer in your mind was.
That's probably, in my mind, I was like, that's not a good idea. But I said, okay, because of course we're hosts and,
Yeah.
So I was like, sure, if people want to go. And then 7 or 8 people ended up coming. And so we just didn't make it.
Okay.
We didn't even we got to one corner and we walked down part of one side and then we were like, we're not going to make it.
Part of this is my fault because I was like, I want to go slightly off course to look at the nubs at the base of one of the satellite pyramids on our way there. Because
Yeah.
you can get there from that direction.
Sure, yeah.
But we get all the way past the satellite pyramids and it's like closed off with them.
So we had to backtrack,
Yeah, and it was like, I don't know if we should jump this fence and go.
which we should have.
We should have,
Yeah.
but we didn't have anybody else. We didn't have Yusuf or anybody with us.
Right, and you don't want to make a bunch of the guests jump fences, and
Yeah.
so
yeah, you don't want to do that.
no.
Yeah.
I think we made the right decision, but we just basically got to walk only along one side of it.
Right, so we ended up at the basalt pavement, and
we
we were like, you know what? It's already been a half an hour, and we've made it halfway down one side. So let's stop here because projecting this forward, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But that was good because we got to spend a lot of time looking at, and then I got busted. It's always good when you get busted, I had a hotel key card, and we're walking around on the side of the basalt pavement, and there's deep saw cuts in the sides of them, the parts of the tiles that would have been hidden, right? So the tops of the tiles are all polished and everything, but because the basalt pavement is sort of busted and you kind of walk around the edge and see the sides of the tiles that are still there, you can see all these saw cuts and like mistakes that were made, whatever, when they were doing the masonry. And some of the saw cuts are deep. So I pulled out my hotel key card and I was videoing myself sliding the key card into one of the saw cuts.
Just dare you put a tool in there.
I know, yeah. I'm like, this is a plastic card. And I slid it in there just to show on the video like how deep the cut is.
Okay.
And that's important because the standard story is, of course, that they were doing all this by hand, and you don't make an overcut accident that deep when you're sawing by hand with a copper saw into a piece of basalt. Right, because I was almost able to completely slide this hotel key card into the thing. And some guard saw me do it, and he comes over and he's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, it's my hotel key card. And he's like, "No." I'm like, oh, sorry.
It hurt the basalt.
Yeah. So that was good. It was, we found a bunch of different marks. There's lots of interesting things to look. That's the problem, really.
Well, hold on now. What about any other goals?
Yeah, any
Did
other
you have any
goals?
other goals?
I mean, we're going to keep going back every year is how you guys are acting. So,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be fine. You can
We're
keep
going to
trying.
go back more for sure.
But
I had some,
come clean with what you guys got. What'd you do?
well, I'm telling you, I wanted to circumnavigate the pyramids. I got to go around Ankara
Okay.
and I got to check for some stuff that I wanted to do, but it was weird because at the same time, we were doing that. They gave me a microphone to talk to the whole group. So I got very distracted.
Oh, okay.
I was more hosting than being able to do research, which is totally fine.
That's
That's what's good about my position. No one gives me a microphone. I get to.
Well, hold on. You did take the microphone from Yusuf once.
Yeah,
And it was
like
glorious.
10 seconds.
Oh, what'd you do? Why'd you take it?
I made a joke about Freebird,
Yeah.
the song.
You just grabbed it from him to make a joke?
No. He asked it politely.
Oh, okay.
But Yusuf we were in a part of one of the temples where Bes, the god Bes, the dwarf god, was depicted all over the place, and Yusuf was pointing out, look, Bes has got a harp. The harp is the basis of the piano. Bes has a flute, right? He was showing that ancient Egypt is, in many cases, seems to be the origin of a lot of instruments. And so we were all sort of joking about, like the idea that, okay, they did it first or whatever. And then Kyle took the microphone from Yusuf and pointed to a bunch of hieroglyphs next to Bess and said, "These are the lyrics to Freebird." It was hilarious.
Did everyone laugh?
Oh, yeah.
It got good laughs. It was a good joke.
Yeah.
Good job,
It was a good joke.
I was so nervous after that. Like, take this
Take
mic
the
out.
mic away. Yeah.
First stand-up routine.
That was your first almost kill Tony.
But yeah, when we went up to Menkara, Ben asked me to give a bit of the talk that I do with the presentation about the shaping of the casing
Which
stones.
I've never seen.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm in trouble.
Oh, we have a problem.
God dang it. The sound guy needs to send it to us.
It's on video in multiple places.
Where?
Like I've done it for our show. I've done it for Where Did the Road Go?
Grimerica.
I did
Well,
it for
I asked
Grimerica.
him. Okay, I guess what
No,
I'm
she wants to see the presentation. in
I
front
guess
of a
what I'm
crowd.
referring to is I asked him while you guys were in Egypt, when you guys were about to go. He was on the phone with me, and I said, "Can you please, if possible, I'm not trying to,
record it."
But, so and then send it to me. I know it's going to be big. I know you
Yeah.
can't send it to me, but since he's been home, which has been a while,
Yeah,
I
so
haven't seen anything.
Chris has it.
Chris has it. Yeah.
He was the one that videoed it.
Yeah.
It's his fault. It's Chris's fault.
Well, maybe Chris knows how to send it to me.
Yeah, we'll put it up on the server.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I really want to see it. I really want to see it, you doing it live.
Oh,
but
okay.
when you've done it live at the events that I've been to,
Yeah,
I've
you
had the
couldn't-
kids,
couldn't
or,
quite,
or I
yeah.
could see part of it, or
Yeah.
too many people were asking questions. So I'm really looking forward to just getting to see the whole thing from beginning to end. That
okay.
one when you were in Egypt, because wow, like,
Yeah, that actually
You're
made it
in-
weird.
oh,
It made it weird because, I mean, maybe this is not something that, well, we can talk about it. Like, normally when I'm giving this presentation, we're not in Egypt.
yeah, I know.
And so I'm saying, like, here's this place. If you haven't been here, here's the effect. But we were in Egypt, and a lot of the places I was talking about, we had already been to them. So it was just a little strange
You
for
need
me.
to do your presentation at the very beginning of the tour.
Yeah. This is the only good place to do it is on the boat.
Ah,
We talked about this because otherwise we'd
do
have
it
to.
at the pool table, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see it.
Anyway,
what
it was,
were we? Yeah, what were we?
So that was one of the goals was to go around the pyramids. We made, and I also just look. What I really want to do with the plateau is just I want to be able to do the same kind of exploration that Kyle and I have done on lots of property out here, like remote property. Like we're basically, we can just walk and look, and you're kind of in your own mind. I don't want anybody talking to me. I don't want to be talking to anyone else.
Yeah.
What I want to do, because like that, so. This is one thing that we've done a lot out here when we're helping people with their very like rural properties or so we're walking in remote areas and focusing. You can focus. You like I want to go up there and see what that is, and you kind of climb up a cliff or whatever and check something out. You're looking at the geology, and you can kind of after a little while of doing that, you sort of you get into a kind of a mindset of like, okay, now I'm beginning to see things that I wasn't seeing before. It takes a little while. It's kind of like a meditation almost.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah, and that's what I want.
Input from other people, you can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Can't focus. So that's what I want to be able to do with the plateau, but it's just almost impossible.
Well, next time. So we took the
Well, we
the
need to
early
figure
days.
this out.
The early days that we were there. To one of the full days was we went to the Serapeum, and we actually looked at.
Yeah, we went to Saqqara and looked at a bunch.
Yeah,
of
we
stuff,
looked at some other stuff around there too. So
and it was good. We got to kind of wander.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
we can do that with the plateau.
Right.
We just didn't. Like we did go to the plateau, but it was the day before the event, and there was a bunch of people that were already there that were with us, and it was the commit school made it very organized, right? Because we are taking a bunch of guests out, and so they were like, okay, we're on a schedule.
Yeah.
Here's what we're gonna do, blah, blah,
Which is
blah.
good,
So
yeah.
that it was the right thing to do, but if we took like the day we took to go to Saqqara and we just went by ourselves, we could spend all day there.
Yeah.
So we can do it in
Yeah.
the future.
We'll do it. And later, when we came back to the plateau, I got to do one of the other goals, which was around. Was this later? No, it was the first day when we were there. But everybody went down into the middle pyramid into Khafre, and I didn't go in. Instead I wanted to walk around it. So I didn't completely walk around it, but I got to walk a lot of that pyramid, 3 sides of it. And I got to see the backside, which you almost never see in photos. There's lots of stuff back there, blocks and everything. Very interesting things that I want to be able to pay more attention to. And also the big wall that's cut out, because that pyramid is kind of cut. It's set into the plateau. They cut a huge portion of the plateau away to put the back part of the pyramid there.
The back base of the pyramid is rock cut.
Yeah.
I mean, it just
This is making me think. Pictures?
yeah.
Nah. What we went through to get here was too much.
I might be able to put some pictures up in the video in post,
Yeah, that would be better.
if that's what you're asking about.
I mean, just a picture to show me.
Maybe.
I can show you, but
Okay,
keep going,
well,
Russ.
sorry.
I'll pull up my photos.
So I wanted to, before we had only seen that cutaway wall from afar. So I got to kind of walk up to it, look at it. There's some glyphs on there from the New Kingdom. There's entrances into it. I guess people made tombs into it. Some of it's blocked up. But anyway, got to walk around. I just really want to be able to take my time and sort of walk these areas in the same way that we've done out here, where you can kind of get into this meditative state where
Yeah.
you're seeing stuff, And this is a bit of an aside, but there's just I don't know, there's something that happens, and I've noticed it so many times, like when we're looking for arrowheads or looking for fossils or whatever. When you first get out there and you start doing it, you don't see anything. But then eventually something happens and then suddenly you see them everywhere. Suddenly you're like, okay, there's a fossil, there's one. And it takes a little bit to get into that frame of mind.
Yeah.
It is very strange. So I want to be able to try to achieve that on the plateau and in some of these other sites. So I didn't get to do that, but I did get to walk a lot more of the base of the pyramids than I had before.
Okay, so Were there everywhere you were on those sides? Were there still a whole bunch of people just everywhere?
No, around
kind
the,
of got to be more alone as you went.
yeah, around the backside of Kafra, there was no one. It's just, you know, the entrance is on the north side, and I kind of went around it would have been the northwest corner. I can't remember, but around the corner from the entrance, there was almost nobody there.
Okay, so that was cool.
Yeah, it was.
You got a little glimpse of meditation.
Yes.
You got over there and you're like, thank God.
And walking around Menkara, even though I had the microphone and I was talking, it kind of happened there too, because I wanted to see specifically, are there flattened areas on the other two sides of the pyramid where they flattened the granite casing stones. And then, of course, getting around the sides, we found out that they haven't even been dug out. You know, so there were piles of material all the way up the sides of the pyramid, so it just hadn't been excavated at all. What's going on over here?
Yeah, we got some.
Huge problems. Don't worry about it. I got this over.
I think Ty called.
Ty.
Oh,
Ty called, and then woo.
Yeah, Ty called, and it's my fault. I didn't put the phone in
Some
camera.
activity was
in
kicked off.
Airplane mode. So yeah, there's gonna be some.
well, we're at a break anyway. I'm
Yeah,
just
look at
kind of
that.
rambling on.
And I'm sitting here desperately trying to listen while Kyle's like shuffling back.
Sorry,
and
You
forth.
just have to ignore him. I mean,
Yeah,
that's pretty much what I do for the whole
I'm
show.
trying to get my foot out of
Just
the way. and-
Ignore the producer. Hey, look at this tiny pyramid on this little post.
oh yeah, look at.
Okay, so yeah. Anyway, all right, we're gonna take a break.
Yeah, we'll take a break.
We can pull up some pictures of the middle pyramid.
Well, this will be great.
Yeah.
Be right back. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, Brothers of the Serpent podcast, doing video. Spent
doing
a whole lot of time setting up this video situation to record 3 people in this tiny room. It was not easy. But yes, joined by Laura, my wife, and discussing
Hello.
Egypt. And I think... are you done with your goals? I got so distracted with Ty calling me.
Well, I had some Osirian goals, and I did get those goals. They were simple. I wanted to get better images and take better looks at the dovetailing of some of the upper blocks where it looks like they are dovetailed into the columns. So I did get to look at that. I wanted to kind of walk around the upper edge, but they don't let you do that. It's too dangerous. So I just basically took better looks at the upper edges of the walls from up high. Like when you're climbing out, you're coming up this stairway and you can kind of see. I wanted to see that top edge of those blocks that are the highest
Big
part.
ceiling blocks.
Yeah. So I did get to do that. What else? What other goals did I have? I mean, the grotto was also, something I wanted to. I was thinking that Kyle and I could climb up there together, but once we saw the video from Christian, I knew that 2 people can't do it at the same time.
Okay. I was thinking that the whole time. Like the person underneath is just going to get shit coming raining down on them.
Yeah. There's just no way. We'd have to wait for somebody to get up into the grotto and then the other person go. And that's
then
just,
you don't even know when they're there and
Right.
or when they're resting. It's like, I
yeah.
don't know, I didn't-
So yeah, it was going to only be one person. So
But next time we'll bring a helmet.
why are you wearing the helmet? I keep banging my head on the ceiling in this thing.
I was seriously thinking like, dude, a hard hat would be great for that thing.
Yeah.
But
So
what were our actual goals that we talked about last year?
you were right. You did it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the polishing on the inside of the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Polishing versus rough for different sound waves bouncing off of it, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to affect it, but it probably would be very high frequencies only.
Have you ditched the whole sound thing?
No.
Where are you on that?
Was I talking about resonance as
just because you didn't follow up on the plan to go bang on the walls of them. I didn't know have you
So the difference is...
Have you bailed on the whole idea or...
No. The difference is banging on the sides of the boxes is going to tell you what resonant frequency the stone itself has. Toning on the inside of the boxes, like with your voice or with a tone generator, tells you about the resonant frequencies of the empty space.
Think of it like if it was a huge, massive bell, like church bell.
Okay.
When you hit it, you're hearing the resonant tone of the material of the bell. If you stuck your head up inside the bell and sang until you got that, you're getting the resonant tone of the empty space inside the bell.
Air.
Okay.
It's two different things.
Okay.
So to me, the toning on the inside is a quick, simple way to get an average measurement of the dimensions.
Okay.
Right? Because they're basically parallel walls, it'll just tell you how wide they are, how tall it is, how long it is. So that's like a really quick way to get down and just be like, okay, here's the resonant frequency. Then you can compare the resonant frequency to all the other resonant frequencies in the boxes.
Okay.
So it's not even that I care about the specific dimensions in any particular unit, but are they the same across all the boxes? That's the point. Like a lot of times I got the frequency 108 hertz, which I thought was pretty cool.
And did you decide that was the height or the?
I can't remember.
Do we get to do the dinghy for 108? Oh.
She wants to do the dinghy for 108.
I don't
Dinghy
want to
done.
miss out on all
Dinghy
this
is
stuff
done.
that happens over there because I know there's a lot of opportunities over here, and I don't want to miss any. I don't want to miss any of them.
Great word choice. The dinghy. So, for all you Aussies out there, I don't even know what that means in Australian.
Isn't it just like
Don't
a little
even tell
thing
me.
that floats?
Oh, like a small boat? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Floats. You mean very small rocks? Okay. This is great.
So I want
So 108. I don't know. It's interesting, but they don't all have that resonant frequency, but it's a number of them do, and I still haven't figured out how many because I got in 5 boxes last year, and I'm not sure which ones.
Teresa.
5.
Jesus Christ.
You got me on that.
I
one.
got him.
Right.
I got him.
Yes, you did.
God, he nailed me. I was like,
5.
Damn it. It got serious too early. So,
If only you'd gotten in 3 the first day and 5 the second day, then it could be incredibly confusing and it would be a great Monty Python bit. Anyway, 5 boxes.
yeah, and I know at least 2 of them were not the ones that I got in this time because one of them was what I call the Dunn box,
Yeah.
which is the box that Chris Dunn measured, which is the one that's been blown up by dynamite. I
It's
didn't even
also
I didn't even look at that one.
Right.
I didn't even care.
Right.
Because I got in it last time. I knew for a fact that I did. And then also the one that has the Egyptian hieroglyphs on it. I got in that one last
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
So I knew both of those. I just ignored them.
The one that has the hieroglyphs on it, what does it say? What do they say it says? What?
They say, whoever's name is written on this box is badass.
For real?
I mean,
It doesn't.
I don't
Does
know.
anybody, we have any idea?
No, I don't have any kind of translation, but it basically allows them to date the box, but a lot of it's incomplete. The cartouches are empty.
yeah, the names of the people that it was supposed to be dedicated to are not there. But the name places are there.
Okay.
Maybe
So
it's
maybe
a
just-
government form.
Which those yeah, that's it. Yeah, fill out this form. What if first name, last name? But yeah, and those things have a name too. The container for the names. But anyway, so it's like it's whatever it is, it's incomplete.
You mean cartouche?
The cartouche
You
is
mean
the
the-
full thing,
Oh, okay.
but I'm pretty sure that the shape of the
Yeah, it's kind of an oval, and it looks like it's tied at
On
the
a
bottom or
platform,
something.
yeah.
And then the word is in that.
Yeah.
the,
Or
the name of the king is in there.
The
Yeah,
name, yeah.
yeah.
Because the shirts, you.
yeah, same deal.
Right.
That's the cartouche.
So that's a good question. We should look that up and find out if it actually says anything. Maybe we could do that during the break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't know what it says. But anyway, I knew I'd been in those, so and then I got in 3 other ones, and I'm not sure which 3 those were last year. So they could be the same
But
as
where
3
are
of the ones I got in this year.
I think I want to know, where are you on your general idea of what sound has to do with any of this? Sorry, I wasn't up here.
Okay, I am really not pursuing that
Okay.
in particular. It's because, and I've had a problem with this for a long time, but the
Okay.
idea that sound resonance is going to do something major or be some kind of major energy source is hard for me to wrap my brain around, because it's such such a low energy at any tolerable level. If you want to increase the energy, it's going to be like no humans can live near enough sound energy to provide power to a society.
That's why you put it underground or surround it by a giant triangle of stones.
Yeah, and then you have some giant. You're like producing some.
How do you
huge
harness
sound
it?
wave
Yeah.
in there?
Yeah. How do you harness it?
It's also it's also mechanical energy. It's going to convert. It's basically going to be transduced into mechanical energy, the vibration of the materials themselves. And again, you get it up to the energies that is necessary to provide enough power, in my opinion, to do anything useful. It's just going to be destructive to the physical objects that are containing it.
Okay.
Especially because it's the resonant frequency, right?
Yeah.
Like if it's the resonant frequency of that stone and you start increasing the amplitude, it's going to break it.
Yeah.
Like it's not that elastic. I mean, that's what earthquakes do. Earthquakes are shaking the ground. They have a lot of energy, but it's destructive to the materials that it's traveling through. You know?
I'm hearing you.
So I just don't know about that. And I could be way wrong on this, but it just seems to me that is it. Now, it might be utilized. The sound energy could possibly be utilized to aid in some other process of transducing energy from one state to another. That could definitely be something that's going on. And I think we might find out in the future if we discover new, ways to utilize energy, that combining various different types of energy together that can sort of assist each other in different ways to convert energy or take energy from the natural medium and direct it, focus it towards something.
I see what you're saying.
Could be handy to have multiple different things going on rather than just like with a hydroelectric dam or something. It's just the motion of the water is pushing this thing around in a circle. But of course, we use electromagnetism. We use all these other things. So we're just converting energy from one state to another, taking it from like a sort of a chaotic state and focusing it.
Yeah. You're capturing kinetic energy with the hydroelectric, right? That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then there is a kind of resonance, if it's alternating current, it's kind of a ringing in the electromagnetic spectrum back
Right.
and forth.
Yeah, definitely. It's like ringing a bell.
Yeah. And then of course, you can't discount the possibility of what these kinds of resonances do to people.
That for sure.
So it's possible that that all these did have resonant properties and they were built to have that, but what their goal was not to, for example, produce power that could run machines, but just to change
people's consciousness.
Consciousness, yeah.
For sure.
It just seems strange.
It seems strange that,
Yeah.
well, maybe it doesn't seem strange that they don't want you to do any toning when you're in there, but
Well,
I understand that.
okay, so
Yeah.
yes,
But what if it is like,
right.
shh, because you may change something.
Yeah. Right. Don't turn it on. Yeah. Well,
Stop trying to turn it on.
right, which is, on the one hand you can say, well, if you've got an internal combustion engine partially disassembled, you don't want to turn it on,
Yeah.
right? It's going to be
Yeah.
bad. But on the other hand, like, are they trying to stop people from expanding their consciousnesses? I don't know. To me, I think primarily the reason they don't want you toning and stuff is because it gets really annoying very fast.
Yeah, I can see that. With that many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many audio clips and video I've seen of various people going around in these objects, and you can hear in the background people like, and you're just like, yeah, it's you don't want that happening like all the time.
Yeah.
So,
But I will say, I mean, for sure, there's with the architecture in the temples. We went to some mosques as well after the tour was over. They were beautiful, and for sure, the architecture itself, like just visually speaking, is beautiful. It's awesome. These really high ceilings, it's just amazing.
You said some blocks from some pyramids were used in the building of the mosques. Did you say something like that to me on the phone?
It's hard to say where these blocks came from exactly, but it is thought that there's a lot of stone from more ancient structures that are used in these buildings. Because there's some where you can just clearly see hieroglyphs on them.
Just
there's just one stone way up there in the corner. It's got hieroglyphs on it. So
it's like an Ottoman era building, but it's clearly there's a block there that has hieroglyphs, which
that's interesting.
Yeah.
And to be fair, a lot of places in Egypt, a lot of temples, a lot of ancient structures are just piles of rubble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's understandable that people are like, well, let's grab a couple of these rocks and build something with them, because they're just laying all over the place because they've been
Might as well.
pillaged before. I mean, it's just been going on for thousands of years.
Well, and when we were at the Citadel, Yusuf was pointing out all the what is it?
Columns?
The white calcite. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just tons of it. And he's like, yes, this is all sourced from older structures, from Egyptian structures. But the Citadel is an Ottoman thing too. I think he said Saladin built it, or it's in his time. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, you're looking at reused material. It's just, but like Kyle said, we don't know if they went and took it off of a intact structure or if they just took from piles of rubble.
Yeah.
Then there were tons of granite columns, and those had clearly been modified.
The one that fans out kind of like this has the skinny little.
Yeah. She's talking about like the ones we saw at Tanis.
Yeah, that have the lotus.
palm fronds or the
And the
lotus
palm
or
fronds or
Gosh,
lotus
that
flowers at the top. Those are so
big.
beautiful. Yeah. But we were looking at columns that it looked like somebody had tried to round them off and get rid of a lot of those features.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
And then you could tell by the bases and the tops of the capitals and the bases, the foots of the columns and how they were at different heights, that they're reusing the columns were not made for the structure, right? Because you've got a certain amount of height from 40 feet from floor to ceiling, but the column you have, since you're reusing stuff, is only 38 feet. But then the next one you have is 37 and a half feet, right? So the footings are all different heights to make the columns be the right height for the ceiling.
Yep.
Because they were reused. So it was interesting to go through that. Yusuf showed us, like, he took us all over, and we're like, random places, like, we're going to go down this road and then down in this alley and down this stairway because there's a giant granite block down there that we're going to look at.
That's crazy how things are just scattered everywhere.
Yeah,
and
they're
this
all
is
over the
built on
place.
That, and
Yeah.
it's just like a huge mess over there.
That was also fun. We got to walk through some, marketplaces.
I told her about this marketplace. Marketplace. I told
It was
Yusuf
great.
too. I was like, I have to bring my wife here. Like,
Yeah.
you would love this. Like, it was really cool. It was really cool.
Yeah.
There's this tiny little winding alleyway, and it's just these people out there just with all their wares and everything on display, and I don't know. It was just the way it felt was really awesome. It
Yeah,
felt,
great atmosphere.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it was really cool.
Like big fish and octopus, or like what are we talking? Like apples?
I didn't see-
Are we
it was-
talking
I didn't see
dresses?
food. It
What
was
are
no,
we-
it was more like shopping, not food.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess, I mean, there was some food, but more like, snacks you get when you're shopping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Fritos
But
and Red
I-
Bulls, but not like pizzas,
Going back to the resonance thing, all I'm trying to say is that these temples and these mosques use this type of architecture that is very pleasing to the eye. It's mind-blowing in scale. And also the way it sounds is amazing. Yeah. It's so awesome the way it sounds. So I don't discount that people are intentionally making things in such a way that they have a certain sound. But at the same time, you could argue you can't really get away from having this big, awesome echoing sound. If you're going to build gigantic structures with huge, high dome ceilings and all this kind of stuff like we saw in the mosques or in these temples. So I think they work hand in hand with each other in that scenario. When you're inside a pyramid, it is nothing like those things. Except when you get to like a corbelled chamber or something, then that sounds like a cathedral. Or, it's like when you get the little stair step chambers that they resonate in
the King's Chamber, is that where?
that
or
one's
no,
not. That
where?
one's parallel walls.
Okay.
But we were watching Ben's video, and he was shooting video of stair steps down and gets narrower and narrower. That's corbelled. In those rooms, any note you sing out rings. I mean, it just resonates, right? Whereas in the King's Chamber, I mean, you get that to a certain extent, but there are certain notes that you can hit that just really, they're obviously harmonics of the fundamental of that room.
And didn't you get some alone time in one this time?
In a chamber?
Did,
We were alone in the King's Chamber last time.
okay.
I
you
was
didn't have
never-
any alone time this time? Okay.
Not in the King's Chamber. Not in. I don't think anywhere. In
You
the
went
Third
somewhere
Pyramid.
twice, and that was maybe the Serapeum.
We went to the Serapeum twice. Yeah.
We got to talk.
I was
like
alone in
every
those
day.
boxes.
We talked like every day. I think.
Yeah.
I would get the updates.
You were getting the updates.
I was
okay.
getting the
Live.
pictures of the food. I asked for pictures of the food.
I was sending foodie pics.
and then I would get the photos, and we'd talk about some stuff that was going on. And
yeah.
so I kind of felt like I was living it as it was happening.
Yeah.
Also at home crying, like, I miss it.
So sad.
Yeah. But
I was having the greatest time of my
know.
life.
and I'm gonna go.
She's going.
I know you're
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
You're going.
Yeah. But it's for the future of the kids.
Yeah.
That's what we got to keep in mind.
Right.
All these little hoodlums running around. They got to know what's really going on over
Rats.
there.
Crumb crunchers.
You know? Snake Bros kids. Yeah.
Well, the other thing, so I go back to the Assyrian, because this is part of the unfinished aspect of the presentation that I have, or the one of the things that I'm looking
That
into.
was definitely a big goal, was to get better stuff for the presentation.
Yeah.
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 And you guys got great stuff.
Kyle got good stuff. Yeah. I almost never did.
There you go, babe.
I
You
was
hear that, babe?
I was performing my host duties, and Kyle was taking all the good photographs. But yeah, there's more in the Osirian that I'm interested in. And then of course the stuff we talked about with Marty and Chuck about the at the quarry. So the quarry is another site that's in the presentation, and there's just so many strange things there.
Yeah, and because I haven't heard what they've said yet, so.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
They were talking about the possible methods and tool types for cutting these
Okay.
rocks out of the, what makes what looks like scoop marks. They were talking about some of their ideas on how that worked. But the point is that one of the things that I realized, going back, so we went the first time to the quarry there, and then we took a bunch of photos, and we've presented on it. I've talked about it multiple times, and then we went back, and I'm just like struck again by how massive this quarry. It's a huge site. You know, it takes a lot of walking to get all over this site. You know, the you can walk around for quite a while before you even get to the unfinished obelisk, and then you get up there, and then I'm like, where's the next piece that I want to look at? And it's way around the side and down this. You know, these things are far away from each other. It's a huge quarry, and it's not the only quarry of that kind of granite there, but it's the most famous one, obviously, because it has the obelisk in it. And I do want to, you know, we were bringing up the nubs. I know we're jumping all over the place here, but we were bringing up, we were talking about nubs and stuff with Chuck and Marty on the last episode, and we were talking about how they're, you know, they seem to be for lifting. But Patty, I think this was Patty that pointed this out to me. The unfinished obelisk does not have any nubs on it, which is really interesting.
That is a good observation.
Yes.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Nubless.
Let me make sure that was Patty. I think that is. Yeah. So the unfinished obelisk, which would have required a lot of lifting to get it to where it needed to go, it doesn't have any nubs. Now, maybe they intended to put the nubs on the bottom, but that just seems like a very difficult place to put them.
Yes, I've seen these nubs.
I'm showing Laura nubs. These are my favorites, babe.
Now, the lack of nubs on the unfinished obelisk does not discount the idea that the nubs were for lifting. It's possible, or for even just maneuvering. It's possible that they didn't think they would need them for that particular object.
Right.
So I don't know.
It's interesting. Or they don't cut. They cut it out first, and then because the nub is like a high relief.
Yeah.
They actually have to take away some material.
Right, to leave the nub. Yeah. So you're right.
First, they got to break it off the bottom and
yeah,
clean that side up, and so they may come later after they cut the thing completely out.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that because, except that there are cases where there are just nubs on bedrock. You know.
Yeah, that is really strange.
So maybe those were, you know, they're like, that's going to be a block.
Yeah.
That's going to be cut out, and the nub's already there. It just hasn't been cut out yet. I don't know.
The nubs are weird.
Yeah.
The nubs are weird.
Yeah, they are weird.
It's
yeah.
definitely one of the more weird ones.
There's definitely, I mean, there's a case to be made for the lifting. I know you were kind of excluding these, but they're on the lids of some of these big boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems pretty clear that
Those are lifting bosses.
they're for
yeah.
lifting. But
And they may have been removed after, like, this is the thing. A lot of the boxes, the lids are just smooth. But then, like the big one that we looked at in the special access, it has this giant nub on it, but that box isn't totally complete. So you can imagine, like, I've wondered if these things acted like in a kind of way, a safe, right? Like a safe, like once you close it.
Like a safety deposit box or something?
Yeah, like a safe, like something you would put valuables in. So you have lifting bosses on the lids. And once you get the lids in place, you take those off and polish the whole thing, and then it's hard to open after that for people that don't have the right technology.
What about some sci-fi story about all those boxes being like cryo sleep? Have we gone down that road yet? Of like, could they be like cryopods?
maybe that's what mummification is.
Oh, mummification is
It's a form of
a cargo cult for cryo sleep. Yeah, could be.
I've never heard that before. But anyway, I don't know. Just a bunch of boxes down there.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. The other thing we were talking about on the last episode is how none of the lids have been pushed off the boxes. They've just been kind of slid open a little bit.
Yeah. But I guess I was thinking, well, what are the valuable things you're going to go through all that trouble to put in a box way down there?
Well, whatever it is, it was, if there were valuable things in there and people slid the lids off of them to get the valuable stuff out of there, then the valuable stuff must have been small. In other words, not the size.
Or what if it was meant for humans for cryo sleep? It never happened because they all had to bail. And then the people who came to find them slid them just a little bit, like you said.
And found them
empty. They got
empty.
the inertia going, got them empty. And then, so it's like unused cryo sleep pods that we don't know how they work.
Well, I could, yeah. So if you want to go full sci-fi,
We're trying to go full sci-fi for
Okay.
a second. Where can we go?
if you had some cryo sleep machine
Okay.
and you're like, we want to sleep through this catastrophic period that's coming, but we don't want our cryo sleep pods to be destroyed by the catastrophic period.
Yes.
Let's build giant,
Yes.
almost impregnable stone boxes for them, put them underground in a sort of a seemingly safe area, you know. And then Marty was talking about the shape of the boxes or whatever could be. Maybe it was Chuck that was saying this, but if the roof collapsed on them, you know, the box is designed to sort of withstand that. So, you know, so maybe that's what it was. But of course, you don't want to wake up
I don't want to wake up
in a
buried
cryopod buried.
in a giant granite box.
Right. Yeah.
Unless they gave them the capability to drill their way out or something like that. So first they just try to move the lid.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, the lid moved. I'm out.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a lot there that's hard to.
That's
Yeah.
why the other
Full speculation.
That's why the box that was empty was never opened, because they were open from the inside.
They're open from the inside.
and no one was in that freaking box.
And whoever
They
was
just,
in
like, slither
whoever was
out.
in one of those boxes was
maybe-
real small.
Or maybe it was a spirit that just like slithered out.
I'm not buying this. So Ben and I guess you heard Ben and Russ saying that one of the boxes was open and you can't get a person down in there. Like it would.
I
have to
heard
be a
Yeah, it's
child.
like this much.
I don't know about that, guys. I need to see this box. You know which
What?
one? it is?
Hey, what if it was a bunch of trapped gin?
I have talked about that before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I got the idea from you. It's hard, folks.
No, I don't know
because
about that.
this podcast is so good and it's been around for so long.
No, but
Sometimes you don't know, are these thoughts my own?
that's a good point. That definitely happens.
Yeah.
Do you guys even get confused on whose thoughts?
Sure. Oh yeah.
But I had
I
this,
just say we say.
I had this conversation with
Here at
Hugh
Snake
Newman
Bros, we say.
Yeah.
when we were in Egypt.
Wait, say it again. I'm
I
sorry.
had the conversation this
With Yusuf.
very point with Hugh Newman when we were
Oh,
in
you
Egypt.
Newman.
That's why I'm saying I don't know if you got the idea from me, because I talked to him about it.
Well, I want to go with the fact that I came up with it on my
Okay,
own.
well, we'll just roll with that.
Okay. So let's talk about that. What if it was trapped gin, babe?
We talked about this, and it's.
Let's hear it.
I mean, I think it's a cool idea because there was like an interesting story in the story of the jinn where Solomon, bottles up some of these. If you don't know the story, basically he gets power over all the demons.
Yeah, give me the.
He puts the
rundown.
ring on or whatever, and he calls them all before him, and then he goes through them one by one, and then there were some that were just really bad.
Yeah.
That he was like, nope, you're out of here, bottle them up. And the other ones, he kind of just like put them to work and had them doing stuff for him. So one of the stories is that, he bottled them up and he put them down in this old abandoned well or something like that
Yeah.
and buried them in there. And then they ended up tainting the water. Like something
Okay.
started happening later.
Yeah.
I don't remember the whole story, but things were going badly, and he figures out, or somebody figures out, that the jinn were down there, and like even though they were still contained in the bottles, that they were somehow affecting the water, and that was affecting the people. They were
Okay.
down at the water
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
So it's like you look at the Osiris shaft, and you're like, Now this shaft goes way down, all the way to the water table, and there's a freaking granite box down in there underwater. Right? So it's, the Serapeum could be, it's
And-
just interesting that,
What do you
And
think,
that,
Russ? What do you
well,
think about
I'm
that?
just saying that you could take that in the same way as like, this is in the form of a myth.
It's
but it's
radioactive.
really telling you about a technological issue.
Oh, like there was radioactive
It was
bodies.
radio-
or just whatever. It was
Yeah.
something technological, and Solomon's like, okay, that one is very powerful, but it's actually too dangerous. So we're just going to contain it. Maybe even it's an ancient artifact from some previous civilization, and he puts it, below ground, and then it's tainting the water. So you got to get them out of the boxes at that point.
And you are having to drink bottled water when you're in Egypt.
Yeah.
Good point.
That's-
That's probably why they have us do it. Okay, with that, we're going to take another break.
Yes.
We'll be right back.
Snacks.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, brothers of the Serpent Podcast. We are here with our certificates of ignorance, discussing Egypt, discussing the latest trip, comparing it to the last trip. We're joined by Laura. She's asking good interview questions
Thank you.
and also sci-fi questions. I dig the sci-fi questions.
Dude, I love it when you kind of start making up sci-fi stories on the spot. I'm like, yeah, let's figure this out because this is good.
Well, we do have a bunch of other stuff to talk about. Kyle's got some interesting observations on the statues. But before we get to that, Laura asked about the inscriptions on the boxes in the Serapeum. And I was looking this up and I see basically it says that this is Wikipedia, right? So it's pure standard model. They say that they are spells from the pyramid texts.
Oh, okay.
And there's some excerpts here. On the south side of the box, it says, O Apis Osiris, someone shall stand behind thee, thy brother shall stand behind thee. He stands and shall not perish behind thee. Thou shalt not perish. Thou shalt not pass away during the whole of eternity, Apis Osiris. So that's the kind of things that are written on the boxes. And it's interesting, they acknowledge in here that it says the polished exterior of the box is contrasted by the inscriptions and decorations which are merely scratched on and crudely formed. Yeah.
There's a good editor on that one.
And they call it Ptolemaic. They're saying it's a Ptolemaic period box,
Wow.
which would put it
What's that
very
mean?
late period. Yeah.
Tell me the significance of what you're saying.
Like 55 to 30 BC.
So not
Not
nearly as old as we think it is.
basically, yeah, the end of Egypt. Not yeah.
Okay.
So it's the pre-dynastic period that seems to have all this stuff that is machined. Is that or is that not even accepted by the standard model?
No.
Other than the vases.
Right. And not even that really.
Yeah, because they're thinking that's third
First.
or first dynasty.
Yeah, they're like, these are inherited objects, but they're first or second dynasty or whatever.
Okay.
But even though there was one found in that 14,000-year-old Paleolithic burial,
Yeah.
Which Yusuf found information on that, sent it to Ben, and Ben uses it in his presentation.
Yeah.
And you can see there's like a skeleton laying on its side. There's crude pottery, another object in there, and then there was just this beautiful stone cut vase in there, which is it's the same as the ones that were found under the step pyramid.
So the basic idea is that we think it's possible that all of these megalithic, really hard stone, like high precision artifacts and constructions out of these megalithic, really hard stones like granite and basalt and stuff might be before any
Yes.
of the
Any of the dynastic periods, yeah.
Egyptians created.
Yeah.
So that would put the Serapeum boxes in that camp. And then Wikipedia is saying they're 500 BC or whatever.
Yeah, 50.
50 BC.
Yeah, Ptolemaic.
Not nearly old enough.
Yeah.
But they're dating it based on the inscriptions, which they clearly state in the article that the inscriptions are crude compared to the polish of the boxes. They're just
Yeah.
scratched in. So it's just... So what I think the way to take that is those are Ptolemaic inscriptions, but that doesn't mean the box is Ptolemaic, but that's what they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Most of the boxes, yeah, most of the boxes don't have any writing on them. So it's if that box is, what they were doing with them. In other words, if this is the intention to bring them in there to inscribe them with all this stuff, in preparation to inter the Apis bull under the name of the current king, then how come all the other boxes don't have any writing on them?
Yeah.
You know, so it doesn't really make sense.
I agree with you. It probably just doesn't match up.
There was a place found nearby, though, that did have Apis bull mummies inside.
That's right.
They weren't giant, precise granite boxes.
Right.
I don't know what they were. I've never really looked into that.
Oh, wooden, some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, some of the other observations I was talking about, if we're done with that subject.
We're ready.
One of the things I find really cool, I don't know, for whatever reason, I want to know what this second artifact is that's in the Aswan Quarry. That's not the unfinished obelisk, but you go past the unfinished obelisk up over a big mound of granite, natural bedrock granite, and you come down and there's this other humongous thing that they were in the process of cutting it out. And it's oddly shaped, you know, when you're walking around it, you can't get a sense of like, what is the overall shape of this thing? Like, it's hard to see it. It's hard to imagine it because it's so big. And the top of it, when you walk out on the top of it, it's not clean. You know, it's not a clean surface like the unfinished obelisk. It's rough. It's obviously had been shattered and broken. There's damage on the top, as though it looks to me like there was a lot more mass of stone on top of this thing when it was being cut, and now it's gone. Like it may have been quarried off of there later by other people, because the wall on one side where they were cutting it out is quite high.
Yeah.
It goes way up, but you're standing down here on top of the thing they were cutting out. It looks to me like most of the mass of this object on one end has been broken away and is just gone.
Okay.
Like, there's not huge boulders of it laying around. It's just gone.
Yeah.
There's a few boulders laying down in the trenches that seemed like they came off of this object. So it's really busted up. So it's hard to get a sense of what this thing is. Well, I scanned the whole area. I scanned down into the trenches, and the trenches, of course, come down. They go underneath. You know, it goes along. The trenches get deeper as you go to one end of it, and when you're finally at the far end of it, you're way down under the top of the bedrock. You know, and there's just these cuts that just come all the way and go underneath, and
wow,
it's amazing. So I scanned the whole thing, top, underneath, the walls around it, and when I was looking at the scan later, because you can just kind of flip the whole scan around, you can zoom the scan way out and look at it as though it's this small object. When I looked at I'm looking down at the top of the object, and I just have the scan sitting on my screen like this, and I can see the whole thing. But when I flipped it over and was looking up from the underside, it's kind of like in a video game, you go through the wall accidentally and you turn around and it disappears. The wall disappears, right? That's what the scan does when you look at the wrong side of it. Like, some of the walls disappear. And so you can just, what you see when you're looking at the underside is the undercuts that go all the way around the object. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like clear as day that it looks like a statue from a profile of the statue with a headset, the bowling pin hat that goes back. That's kind of what it looks like. You see this, and then it changes size where I think roughly the shoulders might be. And you can see when you flip it back over and you kind of zoom into the scan, you can go along the trenches underneath, and there's this clear point. You come down from what might be the headset, and both sides of the object, the cut changes depth. It changes how far it is, so the statue would get wider here, like it should if it is an actual statue. So there's no way to prove this, but this is what I'm saying. For some reason, I'm always like, what was this thing? Like, as though that's important in some way, right? What we really want to know
it catches your eye.
What tools were used to cut it out, but I'm somehow obsessed with like what it was.
What was
and
it?
and if it is a statue, it's just interesting to me that they cut it out on its side.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, doesn't it seem like you'd cut it out laying on its back?
Yeah, you would think that's what you would think.
Yeah.
Like they'd cut the statue laying on its back.
Yeah.
And of course the statues are all like in a stepping motion. Like
But
these
maybe
big standing statues.
maybe they decided
Not
that-
all of them, but a lot of them.
It's possible they decided that cutting it out, laying on its back, it would have been too wide, and there was fractures.
Not enough stone. Not the
fractures. Yeah. So they're like, we can get this out of here, but it has to be.
Yeah, like they knew that the materials were good going deeper than they were going wide, so
Right.
they turned the whole statue on its side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
sense. Like you could do it this way. I just find that fascinating. So I realized later at this point we had already gone to Luxor. So we had already been where all these amazing precision polished giant standing granite statues were. And a lot of the other ones that we saw later were seated. So it's not the same. It can't be a seated statue, in my opinion. It doesn't. We would need
Yeah.
all this mass out here where the knees were.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just like, dang, I need a profile of a giant standing statue, from the side, and see if you could just overlay it on a video to
Yeah.
see if how similar are they? Maybe the proportions don't line up, but I find it a really cool thing that I want to keep looking into. So that's a future goal.
Okay. Future goals. We're setting future goals.
Yeah.
I'll have to go take
and-
notes after fact.
So another thing I think about, let's just say that that's what it is. I wonder, how big is this statue? Would this statue have been the biggest standing statue, right? Would it fall in that category? Maybe, maybe not. But what I'm thinking of
Well,
is,
based on the famous thumb that's at Karnak,
Yeah.
based on the other pieces of the arm that they have since found and put out there with that bit, its arm was straight, so it would have been a standing statue. That's clearly the largest known possible standing statue ever found to date.
the one with the thumb, the
Yeah.
pieces, yeah.
Yeah, because they
Okay.
found the parts of the rest of the arm and it's straight, whereas seated statues, their arms are
Right,
bent at
for
the
sure.
elbow. This one doesn't bend at the elbow, so that would have been a standing statue, and it would have been
Enormous.
yeah 1,000 tons.
That's what I'm saying. So if there's a way to sort of confirm that this would have been a standing statue, could it possibly have been bigger than that one? Right? Like if you figured out what
yeah.
the proportions are. Because
I
the
see what
bottom
you're
end
saying.
of it, where his legs are, it's gone. I mean, it's been quarried
Yeah,
away.
it's
This is
completely gone.
only really, you're only seeing the head down just a little below the shoulders, and that's all that we're
You're
seeing
right.
of it.
You're right.
It
Maybe
would
it
have
would've-
kept going way up there.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe it would have been.
It would have been
largest.
tilted. The head would have been on the downhill side.
So point being, like, another largest thing ever still in the quarry.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So imagine, and so that's what got me thinking, like, is this their way of saying, like, okay, we're done with the quarry, and you make these cutouts and you leave them there because those are the markers. There's some type of, they're intentionally left in there as a symbol, like a geoglyph, right? That's what I was wondering. Like, did they do this on purpose?
Yeah. I think Hugh Newman also mentioned that to me. He was talking about how, didn't he say this to us on the show as well? That he thinks
He may have said that.
Yeah,
for
that,
sure.
that he thinks that these things were left in the quarries intentionally.
Yes, for sure. He
Yeah.
said that. Yeah.
He's like, he thinks it's on purpose. Like, it's not like they downed tools and never came back. It's not like something happened and they couldn't keep working on it. It was like, this is on purpose. Let's leave the largest thing we've ever cut still in the quarry. And in some cases, not completely excavated.
To show you can do it.
I don't know what.
Yes, we can do this.
Well, it looks like they couldn't. That's the problem. Like, a lot of times the explanation that's given today is that it was too big, or they couldn't do it, or they couldn't manage it, or it was
But to
cracked.
leave it sitting there
That
in the
doesn't hold
corner-
water.
Yeah.
There's no way. I don't believe it.
But it looks like you're just like leaving a trail. Like this is where it came
That's
from.
what I'm
This is-
thinking. It's
Yeah.
more like,
Like-
it's like, here's where we were. This
Yeah.
is where we got it. This is
Right.
what we were doing.
Yeah.
Like,
Like this can be done.
I don't know that there's any way to prove that. It's just intriguing to me.
And like so many other things in Egypt, it seems like a lot of work to do something that you don't have to do that much work for. You know?
What do you mean?
Well,
leave a symbol or
there's
some
an
sign?
easier. Aren't there easier ways to say like, here's the quarry where we got it? Then
Well, not necessarily that specifically.
Okay,
but
okay.
Just like it's like you're putting your mark on this spot.
Yeah.
Right. Like we're not building a temple here, but we're showing you this is what we did.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know why they would do it. It's just kind of cool.
yeah.
Or they just had to leave when they were in the. We don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of where we normally go. Is that like they were in the process of doing stuff and they
Yeah.
just something happened
But we just don't know.
and they never came back.
Right.
And the technology was lost and so on and so forth.
So it just couldn't be completed. But you're right. It is possible, because we know so little, it is possible that this isn't a mistake. It's not an accident, of time or money or fate or whatever. It's that this is what they intended to do.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is not a job left undone, but actually a completed job.
The marks of
Yeah.
the makers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're
Yeah.
just like,
Let's dig one out partially and leave it like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So that
As a
people will
symbol
see it and
forever.
be like, this is okay. We've seen these things sticking out of the sand. Here's clearly where they were making them.
somebody was intentionally like,
Yeah.
cutting it. I don't know. It's just cool.
Maybe.
Maybe the guy that was in charge of all that was just a cool guy. And
Maybe
he was
he
like,
was.
you know what would be really cool?
Yeah.
Is if we just did this and then we left. And they were like, yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know.
The other thing I thought of, on the intentional side, is that so you have a quarry workforce, and they're told, like, cut out giant statues and giant obelisks and keep doing that until we tell you to stop.
There you go.
Because
That's a good one.
because you don't know what's going to happen to your removed obelisk on it. So maybe
Yeah,
it
that's
gets
for
dropped,
sure.
cracks. So just keep cutting them out, and then eventually somebody calls the quarry and says, "Okay, we have enough. We're done."
Yeah.
And then the quarry stops. But they were in the process of cutting out other ones because the job goes on, and so
I like that. I can get with that.
Yeah. And I think that, Ben talked about, like he even, I think, did a video on the excavation of the site, and the unfinished obelisk was buried in
yeah,
30 feet of rubble and giant chunks of granite and all this kind of stuff. It was very difficult for these archaeologists to actually excavate it because there was huge boulders in there. So it was buried, and that's why it's not chopped up into pieces.
yeah.
If
But
it hadn't been
Somebody
buried,
tried to chop up the upper parts because that was.
But when they
more
were told to
exposed.
stop, no one was like, "No, let's just finish this last one." Everybody was like, "Thank God, we're done."
or they just were like, okay,
Yeah.
Ah, now we're talking.
Yeah, the portal opened behind him. He's like, "Oh,
Now
okay,
we're
good."
talking. Yeah.
Yep. But what you're saying is like the reason, because we've asked this question too, why people were stealing bits of quarried material,
Yeah.
from completed projects. The pyramids are quarried. Why didn't anybody take the bits of the obelisk? Well, somebody clearly tried in a couple of spots, but only
Oh,
on
okay.
the upper end, the part
that's
that's
sticking out the most.
sticking out the most.
Okay.
And actually, one of the things that I noticed in the Assyrian, which was kind of fun, this might be difficult to describe without photographs, but there's a place where you can stand and there's two giant, massive monolithic columns in front of you. The column on the right is actually two pieces, so I shouldn't have called it monolithic. It's
two blocks.
it's two blocks, right?
Okay.
So the one on the left is a single massive block from floor to the cross beams up above. The one on the right is one giant block and then a smaller one above it. And somebody had, and you can see like, where they were cutting the holes into the block and then putting wedges in, using the wedge method to split away, to split the rock, to take part of it. They had done that on the smaller block that's sitting on top of the shorter column. And then on the single column, the one that's the whole piece all the way up, somebody had cut the same number of wedge marks down that one and tried to split it and only got the upper corner. It didn't split properly because to do that properly, you have to go all the way down this side.
Okay.
Right. It won't break properly. So it looks to me like the thing was buried up to that level, and they thought, oh, this block is probably the same height as this other one, and we'll get these two faces. And they failed on the column that's a single piece.
Okay.
But you can tell that the wedge marks go down the same amount as the height of the block that's sitting on top of the other column. I just thought that was an interesting.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's not maybe that's not really going to tell us about what the Osirian is or who built it. But this is like the kind of thing I'm talking about that I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, is seeing through all these layers of people messing with these sites, right? So just an observation like that, where I've been here before, but I've looked at pictures of these same two columns over and over, but standing there again, I'm like, oh, that's what happened.
Yeah. Because there's so much input. Again, like we were saying earlier, you go on this tour, it takes you forever to get over there.
Yeah.
And then you have all this going on.
Yeah.
So
And you're just bombarded with so much information.
Yeah.
It's
it's
just
probably
everywhere
just-
you look, you're like, wow, there's thousands of years of information right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Where do I start?
And then you look at the next place and you're like, oh my God, again.
Yeah.
It's
Well, can I ask about the bird feet?
The bird feet. Yeah.
perfect timing.
Can we put them up? Oh, wait. Oh, look. The timer.
No, it's fine.
I didn't start it. Yeah. I
Oh.
forgot to start the sands of time for this
We have no idea where we are.
this episode,
Doesn't matter.
for this segment.
Well, can I see the picture of the bird
So-
feet?
We went to, after the tour was over, went to a museum in Sharm el Sheikh
Yeah.
at the Red Sea. And this statue was in there of Horus as the falcon. And it was a beautiful statue.
Yeah.
Polished. It definitely looked like one of these, you know, what we think is pre-dynastic machining, whenever it was. Wait, there we are. Let's see. So,
Yeah, we mentioned it briefly on the episode with Ben, that we took an interest in this Horus statue, and one of the museum attendants, the guards in the museum, got kind of bent out of shape because
I remember hearing
he's
this.
asking Yusuf, he's like, "What are they doing?" And Yusuf's like, "They're looking at the statue," and he's like, "Why are they so interested in it?" And Yusuf's like, "It's a beautiful
Yeah.
statue."
So
Here we go.
I was looking at this statue, marveling at the beautiful machining. But I read this plaque, and down here at the plaque, it says, a statue representing the god Horus as a falcon. Horus was the god of kingship. The statue most probably was crowned. In other words, he had the hedget,
Yeah.
little bowling pin hat.
Okay.
The ancient Egyptian sculptor restored the front part of the statue by adding a different piece of stone on which he carved the falcon's claves, which they meant to say
Claws. Unless, wait, maybe I should look this up. Is clave?
Maybe it is, but we were laughing about that.
Yeah.
His claves. So they say third intermediate period, late period, 22nd to 26th dynasty. Black granite. So Yusuf and I were examining this in detail, and in fact, there's a number of places where the statue was attempted to be restored. You can see on the statue's right side wing how beautiful this curved wing is coming down, and on the left side it's been broken, but someone came later and flattened the edges and kind of made this little puzzle piece where they could fit another piece of stone into it to complete
like
the
they
statue.
made a piece to fix it.
It was broken, so they cut it flat.
Oh, and then they just
They chisel and hammer it flat and then make a little sort of puzzle, like a dovetail puzzle piece where they can then carve a new curved wing and slide it into place and maybe cement it or glue it in there.
Yeah.
In the
can
middle
see
of the
that.
statue here, there looks to be something that's been maybe carved off of it, like it was inscribed.
Or they hammered through the polish so they could put plaster on there and put their own
Possible.
inscription on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the feet, the claves at the front.
I looked it up. Claves are a wooden instrument, wooden percussion instrument. So it's definitely not.
Claves. That's claves.
Yeah, claves. See? Claves.
Well, I mean, they kind of
Let
do
me look at this
like
plaque.
long sticks.
So he
carved
says
the
the
falcon's
sculptor
claves.
restored the front of the part of the statue by adding a different piece of stone on which he carved the falcon's claves.
But But look at
So
the knuckles.
So when you look at the feet,
There's knuckles.
yes, there are, and they do have claws, but these are so much more rough. Like they're beautifully done by this guy who was probably hand carving this.
Yeah.
They are beautifully done. But when you look in detail at the transition between this repair and the original statue, there is no actual comparison of precision, of quality. The quality of the original statue is just far superior
Very
Where-
difficult. It's very difficult to tell in the photographs.
to
'cause
this repair. So, but the plaque claims that the carver himself restored it. In other words, the creator restored the broken thing, and it's just like we were just like, no way, that was not the same guy.
Or that could be just a kind of a bad translation, and it just means an ancient
Yeah,
Egyptian
but
sculpture.
they claim it was, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's also the
It could be a
beak.
bad translation.
The beak was also a repair, and that they must have fixed something behind it, and they made a little, like, again, a puzzle piece where they could slide this new stone beak into it. It's
That's
it was
crazy.
well done. The guy whoever was doing the repairs was doing a good job. It just he could not by hand achieve the same.
Quality of the
Level.
original piece.
And
just-
Wow,
here it
that
is right here.
Awesome.
You can see this back. I know this is not the greatest photo, but the back claw, because the bird's foot has the three coming forward. It also has the one coming back, and the statue's broken here.
in
So
front, right in front of the foot.
So
Yeah.
the front three claws are repaired, and the back claw is original.
Original.
And it is amazing in
Oh,
detail.
I see what you're saying.
There's so much detail in this original that is not. I mean, this guy did a good job trying by hand, but he just could not achieve this level of.
And the polish and everything is just not
Yeah.
there on the front on the repair.
I took video of it. I scanned it. Are there no more photos? I think I came back to it. I guess not. Anyway, it's an amazing piece, and yeah, when we were there, the guy, there was like this guard who just, as soon as I went up to it, and just, like I had spent a couple of minutes like, just like, oh my god, look at this thing. I got my phone out. I started taking pictures, and then this guy just creeps up on me and just stands there and just watching me.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, hi. And he just, I don't know, he didn't like the fact that I was that interested in that thing.
Yeah.
So
I think I heard the cat.
Oh yeah, I definitely heard the cat out there. Yep.
If we don't let her in, she's probably going to keep meowing.
So yeah, that's I don't know why I can't see the videos that I took, but anyway, that's a really cool.
Oh, is that a
artifact.
cow?
Yes.
Let's take a look
This
at
is
that cow.
This bowl. But we're looking at photos now on that Russ is not gonna. We're not seeing in the video.
Right.
But yeah, I took pictures that there's, some of these. This bull is hand carved, and it's amazing. It's carved with a hammer and chisel out of limestone.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really well done. It is not, however, even close to
No, to the bird.
to some
no.
of the precision and polish on these much harder stones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay. What else you got?
So that was back to your question. That was the purpose of the bird feet photographs. I was trying to show a photograph of the difference between
Okay.
those front three claws on that Horus statue versus the statue itself, because those front three claws on
Yeah.
both
and
feet
it's-
are repairs.
You can kind of see it.
Yeah.
In the photo.
It's very difficult to really. This is another thing with these stone objects. In some cases, the polish is almost impossible to properly capture with a camera. The effect that it has when you're there looking at it is different than what you can capture with the
Yeah.
camera. The way the light works and everything, the way the light plays across it. I spent a lot of time on some of these polished objects in the museum in Sharm el Sheikh and in the museum in Cairo, trying to find ways to capture
Yeah.
so that you can see it in videos. Just you almost can't do it. Kyle found
This
a good
is
way,
another
which is
good
like he moved his camera around very slowly and caught the way the light reflects and played off of the features that are carved in. Some of the features are almost invisible, like the musculature on the human statues they're bare chested, and there's all this detail in the musculature across the stomach and
they got
up.
6-packs going on.
Yeah,
over there?
they all have 6-packs, and but you can barely see it in part because
It's
the museum
subtle.
is dark.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
I see.
Or the lights just coming in weird places because the windows are way up high. And anyway, Kyle found a way to where he was just moving very slowly and like letting the light play across these features that are
Okay.
otherwise just completely invisible. And then you can see it. You see
You
these.
see all the curves. You see
it's
all
like-
the
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
awesome. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's
I mean, I was looking at this guy's legs. I was just like, holy shit, these are beautiful legs. I was there videoing his stone legs for a
Look
good
at those
minute.
calves.
just look at this knee.
Yeah.
You want to talk about the toes?
Yeah, these are just other features that, the differences. And I did mention this before, but Yusuf told me many times when I brought these differences to him, like that I'd noticed, he said that, this could simply be the difference between one artist and another.
Oh yeah.
That, statues were being carved. There was being giant carvings were being made, and they had hired many different artists to do these jobs, and some were just amazing and others were not, or others were less amazing. So that could be it, but I think that it's
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson Giant Sculpting did not do good jobs on their statues.
Don't they say artists model things kind of after themselves? If they're going to draw an eye, they will kind of naturally will draw like an eye that looks like their own eye, or if they're going to sculpt a foot that looks kind of like their own foot, maybe.
yeah, I can see that. When you're starting out, you're like, oh, I got a model here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
maybe some of them were good, maybe some of them were bad, or maybe some of them just had ugly toes.
well, there's just clear
Yeah,
differences that are more. See, these things just need to be measured better, because in
Yeah.
a photograph or in person, I can look at it and I can see the symmetry between the curves over the knuckles and the fingers from one finger to the next in a
yeah.
certain statue, right? How perfect these curves are. Like, it's maybe not realistic, because the knuckles actually have quite a few complex curves, but in some of the statues they are just beautifully done.
Yeah.
You can see the regularity across them. Then you go to the next statue and it's like they carved a sort of squarish ball for the hand, and then they started cutting grooves down through where
Instead of carving a hand, they're just
they're
just getting close.
they got a hand, they
I
got
see
this
what you're saying.
this cube shaped thing where the hand is, and then they just start kind of cutting grooves into it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, you can just tell the difference. But and in those statues, I noticed this difference in the hands and the fists that they were making, and how well some of them really just look like knuckles and fingers going around whatever they were holding in their hand, whereas the others just kind of look like a block
Yeah.
that they had kind of cut these grooves into. Those same statues that didn't have the well-defined hands also had features in the body that just were out of proportion.
I
The
see.
legs were too fat for the body. The arms were too fat. Like they clearly didn't cut around the arm as deep into the sides, right? So the whole body is like one massive stone, and you're starting to
Yeah.
shape the arms where you're going to cut around the arm, going into the armpit, next to the side. They went so far and just stopped, and so then there's just a flat mass of stone back there. Whereas the finely done statues, they cut way around in there, and then they put details on the musculature of the arm, and the arms were thinner and more in proportion to the size of the body. It was the same way with the legs. The legs were cut further around to the back. So there was all this detail
Yeah, that's interesting.
and then those finely cut ones were also polished to this sheen, and they had, the way they reflected the light, you could see even the very subtle details of the musculature that just weren't present
Yeah.
in the other ones. So either the other ones aren't finished, or they were done by less skilled artists, or they were hand done. And these other ones were done by machine. And I think there's an argument for that just because of the similarity from one statue to the next.
Yeah.
Like you might be able to, because the Greeks and they carve these beautiful statues that were very accurate in softer stone, in alabaster,
And marble.
Yeah. And they were just, the proportions were amazing. The musculature is there. It was all these details in the face and everything. They weren't on this massive scale, but they were amazing. I mean, you saw them,
and
we saw them together when we were in Italy.
There isn't a precision thing happening with the Greek statues either.
From one to the other, they are so very different from each other.
Or even in the same statue, like
One side of the face.
the actual human form is not precise, right?
Yeah.
It's
like
not
people are not
symmetrical.
perfectly bilaterally symmetrical. Some of the Egyptian statues are, but the Greek ones are not, because they're actually depicting much more realistic.
Yeah.
There's some beautiful ones you can see where the folds of the cloth are coming down. It's just absolutely gorgeous work, but it's showing you, this is like ultra realism, whereas clearly the Egyptian statues, at least the ones we're talking about with the lovely polish and everything, they're kind of abstract in the sense that they're too perfect.
That's right.
They look otherworldly.
Okay.
There was one of the best and most striking statues I saw. All that's left is the face and the head jet. It was in the Sharm el Sheikh Museum. It's huge. The thing is enormous. When you stand next to it, the face is 4 feet across or something. It's massive.
Wow.
It's this gigantic statue, but it's just when you're looking at it, so it's rare that you can stand in front of one of these, because it was intended to be way above you if it was going to be seated or standing. The face is way up there, so you could stand right in front of this thing.
Wow.
Is this the red granite one?
Yeah.
That was not in Sharm el Sheikh. We were with the full tour when we went through there, right?
You're right. Is it in Luxor?
I think so.
The Luxor Museum. The Luxor Museum. You're right. I'm sorry. The Luxor Museum.
I think I saw
I know which
pictures
one
of
you're
this.
talking about.
Yeah.
I know which one
I
you're
took a
talking
bunch of photos of it because
I've seen
it was
it,
very striking.
Yeah, that one was
And
just
I spent a
incredible.
lot of time looking at the smile, and like if you duck down, you can see how
Yeah.
it changes it and everything. But also just the aspect of the face, no matter what, when you're walking around it, there's just this. I can see why they were like, these are the gods, right? That's what I'm saying. It's too perfect to be a human.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
otherworldly. It is when you're standing in front of it there, and it's blank of detail. That of normal detail. The eyes are just these big ovals. There's no humanity in it or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, there is something here. So I had all this stuff going through my mind standing in front of that particular face.
Yeah, that was amazing.
About the ka and the kef, and I'm just like, okay, here I am in front of an object that's a piece of stone, but it's been carved into a too perfect likeness of a human. And so to the point to where it's so pristine and perfect that it's abstract, it's like a sketch, but where the artist has taken the sketch and then like done it in pen and then erased the sketch, right? So that you have these very clean, precise lines, but it's still it doesn't have all the detail that an actual person's face would have.
I see what you're saying.
Right? The eyes are empty, but at the same time, you're like, they're not. There's something looking at me here. It's powerful and very strange to stand in front of that face. Because that's why I'm saying there's the idea that like these are the images of the gods that came clear to me there.
It kind
'Cause
of
it's like
resembles
there's
a human, but it's too perfect.
Yeah. And the eyes are empty, and yet you feel it looking at you. It's so weird,
What's the
That was
Ka
my
and the
personal-
Kev? Or what did you just say?
the different souls, the different spirits,
Aspects of the soul.
aspects of the soul, and how they would say that, a good likeness of a person, they're one of those, whatever the body soul is, could inhabit the statue of them, as long as it's intact. And you just kind of, I sense that, I know the statue's not intact, but at the same time, I sensed like there's a presence. That's what I mean. Now I know in my, like,
adult brain.
in my adult brain that this is a piece of rock.
But your body still kind of feels stuff like you.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying there was a visceral effect that it had on me that was not part of an analytical process.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I mean. I guess that's what I'm getting at. And we probably should take a break. I think we're probably
Oh yeah, we're probably way over.
we're way over.
That's not too bad. Look at that.
That's pretty
Not too bad,
Pretty
folks.
It doesn't even matter anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Whatever we want to do, we can do.
It was really cool. Looking at these statues again, I just to close it out. The precise ones were definitely more impactful.
Yeah.
Whether it was spiritually or just from an engineering standpoint, it was all of the above. They just really hit you harder.
Yeah.
Just like, wow. It was incredible. So I think it would be great to get more precise measurements of these ones that seem to have this precision and compare them across each other.
Yeah.
It's the same deal with the Serapeum. I want to compare them to each other and see what the differences are. Right?
Yeah.
So, don't know if we'll ever be able to do that, but hopefully with more new technology, it'd be great. All right, we'll be right back. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, for the final segment here on Brothers of the Serpent podcast. Fastest 2 hours in podcasting.
I've been very much enjoying hanging out here with you guys.
It's been a good time.
It's been great.
I enjoyed it too.
I love you guys. Damn
We
it.
love you too, babe.
Yeah, we love you too.
Oh, thanks.
I love you in a different way.
Yeah.
It's only proper. No, it's been good, and it's. I just think it's cool to discuss it and hear other people's questions, because everybody. That's one of the great things about going with a big group of people, is that everybody comes to the place with a different set of questions and going through. It doesn't matter, being there is great, but not being there, it's still fun to talk about, because people always have a different perspective or a different line of inquiry, and it makes you think. So yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
One final thing I'll say just to wrap the whole Egypt thing up again. I know Kyle wrapped it up. Kyle wrapped it up at the end of the last segment.
I was hoping we weren't wrapping it up.
And I'm saying I'm going to wrap it up now. Is back to that same sculpture of the face with the head jet on it that I was talking about at the end of the last segment. If these are to be taken as representative of something, one thing I noticed with that statue is that the head jet is supposed to be a crown. If it is a crown, then it is some kind of setup where the only thing that protrudes is the face, and this thing that they're wearing actually covers the entire back of the head and the neck. And you can tell this from looking at that statue. I walked all around it multiple times. What you see is a forehead strap that goes down and back to the ears and stops. So if it was a crown, you would expect it to keep going all the way around the back of the head. It doesn't. And then there's a chin strap that comes down from near the ears and goes down below the chin. So there's two possibilities. Either that's her or his head, and she's wearing a something around the face, or he or she has got something on where the only thing that's protruding from this article of clothing is the face.
Like a
and it
huge
covers
headdress.
Yes, that goes. It starts from way up at the top of the head jet, comes down, and there's basically just a hole for the face to stick out from the chin up to the ears and across the forehead, and this thing covers the back of the neck and around the shoulders and everything.
That's what they were doing in Fifth Element and in Star Wars.
What,
right?
covering the whole
Yeah,
thing?
wearing big things like that.
Yeah, that's true.
See?
Yep.
Sci-fi again.
Just
Yep.
trying to point some things out here, people.
It's just interesting because the only feature you can see is that strap going across the forehead to the ears and then coming down across under the chin.
Yeah.
It doesn't go around behind the head.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting feature. And you're just like, is that really? Maybe that's her actual head. His or her actual head.
And there's a top knot
Yeah.
on it.
It's got a top knot.
A top knot. Way up there. I don't know.
We just call them the bowling pinners.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bowling pin.
Yeah, we talk about them being long
Yeah.
heads, and it's like, no, that's not a crown. That's their head.
That's
Yeah.
their head.
That's their top knot.
And the top knot. Yeah.
Or it is some kind of weird suit. 'Cause
Yeah.
it does go and cover. And there's different types, because then there's the one with the, the stripes. It comes straight out like this.
Yeah.
And it goes around. It looks like a helmet. It looks like, Darth Vader's
Yeah.
helmet with
Yeah.
stripes on it.
Oh, and the Uraeus on that one comes
Yeah.
out off the strap on the forehead.
And they
too.
definitely made jewelry of the,
snake
Uraeus, the snake.
face.
yeah,
It's called
the
that?
snake thing.
They
yeah.
made jewelry like that had these little, where you could tie it on, and there's
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, yeah, that's cargo cult stuff. It's
Right.
It easily could be. But that the
I
suit
haven't
had
really
some
put
other
much thought into
type
that
of
thing.
I love the idea that it's a full suit. I mean, but now clearly
I just spilled my beer on myself.
these statues
On video.
we see complete ones, and they're wearing a like a wraparound thing at their waist. They're bare chested. But we just don't know what the rest of that particular sculpture looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like it could be a suit, but it could actually be supported by the shoulders, like something that actually sits on the shoulders. So it covers the shoulders, the upper parts of the arms, and then goes all the way up the neck. And because a crown, like if you try to imagine that thing, that head jet as an actual crown, you just sit on your head. It's going to be heavy, but if it actually sits all the way down at the shoulders and the face just protrudes from it, that makes more sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
It's just too big to be an actual, especially some of the ones you see that I don't think there's any statues of this, but in some cases you see these depictions where the guy's wearing basically a platform on top of his head that has 3 bowling pins on it and a bunch of other stuff. And you're like, there's no way that somebody could actually wear that on their head.
That's probably not their head either, though. I mean,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
I guess if they were making it out of paper mache,
Yeah.
it would be all right.
Right. Yeah. But still, you wouldn't be able to do any walking around. You should just stay very still.
You have no balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always felt like the various different crowns. Like I spent some time just looking at all the different ones, and it looks like you could sort of line these crowns up in order.
There's a progression.
There's a progression, so
Oh, okay.
that's what it looks like to me. It looks like there's a couple of different types, but it's almost as though the Hedget just with the bowling pin is like the earliest one, and then at some point it splits into 2 things. And maybe at first they're straight, then they start to curl out, and then they start to widen, and then other stuff comes up in the middle. It's almost like a flower budding,
Yeah.
in a way. But it looks like another thing I thought of is that they're gates. The gates are opening up, and there's something coming out. Like I'd have
Yeah.
to look at them again, but I just remember looking
Wow,
at these,
that's so
thinking
cool.
like there is a progression here of things, and of course, it being on the head makes you think of, as the
Gaining
person or
wisdom,
the initiate
knowledge,
becomes more
yeah.
enlightened, then the gates are opening and their third eye or whatever it is.
That's
It's all these
cool.
kinds of things.
There's
that I
also
think
an
about.
Upper and Lower Egypt thing.
For sure, yeah.
But isn't it
The vulture
mixed
and the
up?
snake.
Isn't it like something about
Yes,
the Nile?
upper Egypt is down south.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's upriver. That's
Because the river goes.
the flows north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Upper and Lower Egypt crown, and I may be getting this totally wrong, but I don't think so. But so we talk about the bowling pin hats, but also the bowling pin and the champagne bucket. The champagne bucket thing is one of the Egyptian crowns, and the bowling pin is the other. So one of those is upper, one of them is lower. And when you see them combined, sometimes they're king of upper and lower of a unified Egypt.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is what they
But
say.
also, Upper Egypt is just uphill. And it's higher. That's why
Okay.
the river flows that way.
But it's south.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it is higher in elevation. Yep.
I mean, I don't know what I expected because I don't really know how. I don't know what the whole world is like. So I don't
How
know.
dare you?
So I'm just taking you guys for what you're saying about everything being flip-flopped.
Yes.
Maybe they thought the South Pole was the North Pole.
Maybe. Yeah.
We don't know.
Okay. We ready for some?
I
We
don't
ready?
have my phone.
Yeah, are we ready for the housekeeping?
Yeah, we're gonna do some housekeeping. Like, do we have ag updates? What have you been doing?
Oh, man. Just trying to get used to being
Yeah.
Not in
my
Egypt.
normal shit again.
He is leaving the house to go to work.
I am.
I just don't
have
know
been
how
going to
much
work.
he's doing.
Just kind of like. No, I've been working on wine and winterizing more stuff. So
Yeah,
it's kind of
winterizing. I'm labeling.
I got a new
bottles.
blend. I made a.
Oh, yeah, it's really good.
The
I tried
2021.
it tonight.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
2021 red blend. It's going to be the biggest lot we've ever done. 620 something cases. So I'm real, and I did this blend by going to every single barrel and pulling out exactly 100 milliliters. So I tried to precisely measure 100 milliliters from every barrel. The barrels are all roughly the same size, 59 gallons. I combined all the barrels of one type into various, however many sample bottles it took to fill up 100 milliliters from each barrel, and then all the barrels of another type, like I'm talking about the grape type, so Cabernet, Montepulciano, and then the Merlot, so that I had an accurate representation of all of this wine, not just from one vessel, because they can actually taste quite different
Yeah.
from one vessel to the next.
Yep.
Okay.
So I took 100 milliliters from each one, combined them together, all the Montepulciano together, and then filled it sample bottles with it. And then I was able to take those bottles and just make blends. So I'd pull out, like, if it was going to be 100%, I'd take out 20 milliliters of something and 50 milliliters of something and then 30 milliliters of something and put them together. And that's 100 milliliters. That's the sample. That's the proportions of the blend. Tasted it, went through a bunch of different things, and finally, while tasting and trying to get the best taste, you're also having to make a decision on the economics.
Quantity, yeah.
And the quantity is like, how many extra barrels do I want laying around that I'm not blending in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out all this stuff. There's a lot of factors that come into play to make a decision. I wanted the biggest lot that I could get. And so I feel like we got that, and we got a really good product, and I was surprised by how many barrels I was able to combine. There's 23 barrels. So it's like 1,100 and something gallons. I'm not sure.
So what are we going to have left over? Just some money?
Just some cab. I didn't
Cab.
put all the cab in because the cab has this vegetal aroma. It smells like bell pepper. Some people think asparagus. Cab just has this naturally, but the less ripe the grape is when you pick it, the more of that you get.
Yeah.
And so, we're forced to harvest because of various pressures and things. And there's also economic choices made there.
So we harvest a cab a little early.
We harvest the cab early, and we didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
We had to do it. So it has this aspect, and it's just too much to let the cab be its own wine.
Yeah. I see.
Can't do it.
Can't do it.
So there's cab left
Or
over.
we let it age, right? Well, we can let it age for a couple of years, and hopefully that thing will sort of integrate and get better. But we need to produce a product, so the decision was made. We'll blend the biggest batch that we can possibly get out of what we have, and it's actually quite good. I'm
very
very
good.
pleased with it.
But what are we going to do with the leftover cab? That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna stick it in the winery and just leave it.
It's okay.
We're just gonna let it
So
age.
We are gonna let it age.
Yeah,
See if the bell peppers get
there's-
kicked out.
There's only 3 barrels left of the cab, so we're gonna let that age.
Okay.
and
That's
that'll-
what I meant.
That'll be a blending tool for the future.
Yeah.
We may use it in other vintages.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and make your prediction here on the show so we can see if you're right later on. How long do you think it's going to last?
How long? Oh, I was just saying it would be nice to have this wine around for like 4 years or more, right? That'd be great. Maybe in 4 or 5 years we'll still have some of this.
Of
we
this
won't
big-
just
this
sell
big
out.
lot?
Yeah,
we
did
can,
you tell them the difference in the lot size? I don't know
yeah,
if I
because
missed
like
it.
the biggest lot size we've ever done out of our estate wines that I think is 150 cases.
And this is
Like 625. So it's going to be a lot for us for our estate stuff. So I'm looking forward to in 3 or 4 years being able to bust out one of these bottles and be this is our 21.
Yeah.
So we'll see if you
And
sell
we can
out
still
before
sell
a few
it.
years.
Well, we'll
see.
The tasting room people they can withhold. They'll have enough to where they can say we're going to just hold back 100 cases and we're not going to sell it.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll re-release it. Right? Like we'll
okay.
have enough because how many we're going to have more wine coming next year and more wine coming the year after that. So it's like we have a big enough lot to where we can sell now and then we can hold some back and sell later. It's just I want to see this wine grow up, people. I want to see this shit. 10
Typical
years.
dad.
I want to know what it's like in 10 years. I'd like to know.
All right.
We always slam it all before it's
Yeah, that's
too
right. It
late.
could just- it
you're
just
right.
vanishes.
You're right. We need to watch
Selling
this
it
stuff
young,
grow.
and like
You're right.
it would be great to age it. Yeah.
And let's teach it. Hey, while it's growing, let's teach it. I'll come in and read to it every day.
Yeah. That definitely makes
We'll
a
play
difference.
classical music.
What?
Russ
That's
has,
the kind of music you
Russ
need to
has
play.
no idea what's going on here. But you people with kids out there,
They
you
say
I know
we
what you're
play-
talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's funny. All right, what do we got? We get down to business. We're supposed to be cleaning house here.
I got a Christmas present.
Oh, that's right.
Let's see it.
What'd you get? Somebody sent-
Laura got her own personal one-up box.
What a perfect
Where's the-
coincidence.
That's exactly what I thought. I'm coming on the show,
How come my
and I got
button
my
isn't
first.
It's probably the soundbite's not in there.
working? Wait a second.
It had my name on the outside, and I thought, well, maybe this isn't just for me. Maybe they just put my name on it.
Here it is.
There it is. One up.
that
That's
for?
the one-up box.
Oh, let me hear it again.
That's when you
You
get the
recognize
green
that
mushroom.
sound? Come on.
Oh,
One
That's
up.
when you get the green mushroom on
okay.
Mario, dude.
okay, sorry. Anyway, cut this thing open with the scissors. Boom, for Laura only. So I was like, awesome. Let's see. This is the first time this has ever happened. Only for Laura. As I go through some of my several jewelry pieces, I ran across some pieces I thought you might enjoy. They are just fun pieces, but they are snakes. So if you like them, great. If not, regift them. I'm good with that too. Merry Christmas and enjoy. Vicky in Discord, also known as Wild Vike.
VK, yeah.
What are we? How do you?
Yeah, it's probably Wild Vicky.
But how do you say? Did you say Vicky? She just shortened it.
Yeah, it's just VK.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not good with the internet lingo.
I don't know either. I'm
All these
guessing.
things. Okay. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Maybe I'm not ready. I don't know.
First one.
Wow, look at those. Oh, that. Okay, it's a
This
single piece, but it's
is
a
a
bracelet. Yeah.
bracelet.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I put it on my arm and I took a
Yep.
video for her.
Now you're definitely an Egyptian princess with that thing on.
I write with that hand. So look at this.
Laura's trying on the jewelry for those of you listening.
Yeah, we
look
got an
at
unboxing here, folks.
I freaked. we need a camera in my room when I open these. That's really what we need to do. We need to have like the spy cam.
Show us the rest. Come
Okay,
on, we
sorry.
got to wrap this up.
we gotta move on here.
Look at this one. Look at this one.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Let me put it on this
Okay,
video.
you're definitely Cleopatraizing yourself now.
Look at that one.
Are you holding your hand up for the camera?
She is. She's flashing.
All right.
She's flashing the bling at the camera.
QVC. Like, dude, QVC. Do you know what this is?
The infomercial
Yeah,
channel?
yeah,
Yeah.
And then
this
like,
is the one you never look at.
yeah. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. And then look at these, like little snakes going around.
All right.
Are these earrings? Oh, yeah, dude. Giant snake hoop earrings?
Wow.
Yeah. So she said she might
Hell
find some
yeah.
more snake stuff, and I said, please send it to me. I can't put those on because I have this. So I come in here knowing that I'm gonna have jewelry, and I've been so excited. And then
Take
the
the
first
headphones
thing
off.
is you guys are like, we do the intro stuff at the end, and I'm like, I'm not gonna get to have my
So
snake
apparently
on my arm this whole time.
This is Laura's.
Just-
This is Laura's reaction to us putting this segment at the end of the show. She's like,
I don't get to wear
because
my
she doesn't get to
snake
wear
as
her
long.
jewelry the whole show.
Anyway, thank you so much. I absolutely love this. I sent her a video.
Yes,
with it.
thank you
Like,
so
this
much.
is
That's
Yes, thank you. Thank you
I
so
love
much.
it when I get gifts when they just know me. You know, I open it up and it's like, you've spoken to my heart. Thank you.
All right.
Congratulations, babe.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thanks,
you got
guys.
your own one up box. Let's
you-
do Space Weather News.
You guys had a great reaction. Good job.
Okay, good.
From spaceweather.com, a chance of minor storms this week. NOAA forecasters say there is a chance of minor G1 class geomagnetic storms on December 21st, when a side-by-side pair of solar wind streams are expected to graze Earth's magnetic field. The gaseous material is flowing from a double hole in the sun's atmosphere. A double hole. What does it mean?
That makes me think of big dude.
I don't know. Current conditions, solar wind speed is 401.1 kilometers per second. The density is 5.58 protons per cubic centimeter. Current sunspot number is 119. The current neutron count is 0.4% above the space age average. That's low. And then the KP index, I think they've changed this because now it's got decimals. The current KP is 1.67, which is quiet, and the 24-hour max was 2.67, which is still in the quiet range. That is your space weather news for the week.
Thank you, sir.
No, that was flyby. Nope.
I unplugged my mic with my foot. I've got a whole giant saving up of awesome news stories. They're so good. But they're on my phone, which is actually the camera over there. So sorry, folks.
Camera over here.
I actually think I may have found my first news story. I'm not going to drop it on us right now because I haven't fully, but I saved something the other day and I thought, could this be?
A Snake Bros news story?
Maybe.
This is news. Laura has her first Snake Bros news story.
All right.
Maybe.
All right, well, we'll have to do that.
I might bring it in next time I come in.
Yeah. Okay, so
It
should
has
we...
to do with Buddha.
Oh, we're going back to the Buddha topic. All right. So I guess we can tackle a couple of Egypt-related emails. We are going to have to do at least one communications episode.
For sure. When we go back to the book report, we're doing a communications episode to catch up.
Yes,
But
because we have a
we're
huge
gonna read-
backlog of emails,
We're going to read some newer emails that are related to Egypt.
at least partially related to Egypt.
I'm actually not reading any of them.
Yes, Kyle can't read them because his phone is being used as a camera.
I also can't read.
And there's that. So this is from Pat from the Shire. He says, "Hi guys, first things first. Well, welcome back from what possibly could be the most scientifically valuable trip anyone has ever encountered in Egypt, next to Chris Dunn, of course. Firstly, microscopes. Holy crap, I nearly fell off my chair. The fact that you guys went and done this, especially in the Serapeum, could lead to one of the biggest revelations to come out of our so-called fringe community. I'm sure when I say this, that once analyzed, your data on the inside of those boxes and other objects could completely disprove the mainstream narrative. So bravo to that. And I'm sure everyone who listened to your return podcast with Ben will agree. On another note, I recently watched a YouTube video regarding the Antikythera mechanism. It was a sponsored talk by Autodesk. In this talk, they had a British engineer / museum curator whose name completely escapes me. Apologies. But this guy made the most accurate working mock-up of this mechanism to date. In the talk, he goes on to explain what the mechanism is and how it works regarding the plotting of Venus's location in the sky. The mechanism, from what my feeble 33.3% expanded mind could grasp, cannot accurately lock onto the planet's orbit. The mechanism has a manual override to reset Venus's location in the sky. At this point, the revelation in my email title, which the title, by the way, was Revelations and Lasers, the revelation in my email title hit me like a slap in the face from Yusuf for not giving him a bottle of wine after hours. Yusuf was trying to bribe people for wine.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Velikovsky could be right. Everything he theorized about Venus has slowly been proved correct, and with this new piece of information, it just adds another piece of the puzzle. If Venus was a large body of material spewed from Jupiter, how long would a steady orbit take to make, thus making this mechanism inaccurate over a large amount of time? Anyway, guys, keep up the great work as always. Yours, Pat from the Shire.
Thanks, old sport. No, that's great.
Now I'm about
just
to unplug
using
my mic. Oh, well.
We've got technical difficulties in here, folks, because we got everything all rearranged.
There we go.
Sorry, brought me in. It was like, we're going to put a video on you. So we have to like
Make you
change,
nervous.
make me nervous, change the entire room around.
Oh, it's okay.
You know, I just thought of a good thing about the video though. If
You
you're
got to show off your jewelry.
yeah, that was a really nice coincidence. It really was.
She got totally distracted.
One thing, another good thing that I just thought about with the video though is you're laughing and people can see. Maybe you're
Do
laughing.
we actually think it's funny?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. That's actually a good thing.
That's
about
not
the
fake
video.
laughing. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot more laughing going on in here than you can hear.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's a good thing.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's email.
Yeah. So sorry.
Poor guy.
So sorry,
Sorry,
old
Pat
sport.
from the Shire. Yeah. Sorry, old sport.
My new. I want all the people from across the pond to call me old sport. That's just.
Kyle says, "Oh boy," over here. Oh boy.
I'm a hillbilly, so oh boy. Anyways.
Oh, what? You didn't have something to say?
Go ahead.
No, I thought you had a comment.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I was just going to say the stuff that we did with the microscope, like I said before, it was very interesting. It wasn't, I couldn't, it's difficult to get good data. Like, really, to do this properly, you know, you need an accurate representation, non-microscopic representation of the area that you're taking, you know. So in other words, you need to know when you're looking at those microscope photos, you need to be able to
the
put
stone were you?
Yeah.
they need to be matched like with a map. Like this microscope image was taken from this spot.
Right.
Just almost impossible to do that
In the dark,
in the settings where we were being forced to work with this stuff. So
The other
I
thing
did get very interesting data. I just don't know how valuable it's going to be yet. But the goal here is to try to get this stuff analyzed, and then I will learn what problems there are, and then hopefully I can correct some of those problems the next time I go and get better data.
Yeah.
So,
And also give credit. I would like to give credit to some of the attendees.
Yes.
That actually brought the microscope.
that's right. I didn't bring it. Yeah, that's right.
Genius. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Thanks for the email, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for the email.
Next one. This is from Greg. It's called Chiseling in the Great Pyramid. So this is not necessarily related to our Egypt trip, but it is a pyramid question. So
Okay.
I figure we can include it.
Throw it in.
Let me have it. Oh,
Greetings. In episode 85, you keep mentioning chiseling in the shafts. Are we talking about advanced saw and drill technology evidence that surpasses our own, and then they have to clean up work to do with chisels? Why also were the door pieces made of copper instead of whatever other metal they had, since, as we all know, copper isn't hard enough to chisel granite? Or, excuse me, were they chiseling limestone? So, yeah,
What shafts?
the shafts in the Great Pyramid. He's listening
Okay.
to, I'm pretty sure he's listening to the
Gantenbrink's
episode.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all in limestone,
Yep.
except for
The King's Chamber shaft.
the King's Chamber shaft
where they
first block
start. Yeah.
goes through granite. But the images that Gantenbrink took up in the shafts, where you can see what looks like chiseling on the sides of the shaft, they look like chisel marks, and it would be in limestone core blocks. It's hard to properly judge what you're looking at, though, because in the image you're seeing, the shaft looks like a large shaft that you could walk through, and you see what looks like normal sized chiseling marks on the side, but it's actually a tiny little square. So I'm not sure how big those marks actually are on the sides of the shafts.
The other thing is, it's hard to tell the difference. I mean, if you took a like a jackhammer and you put a chisel on it,
Yeah.
and you chiseled away at some limestone, and then you took just took a steel chisel in your hand and a hammer and chiseled away at the limestone, you could probably make those things look pretty close to the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just don't know if one's powered and one's not. So I have no problem with the idea that they chiseled the bedrock out, they chiseled the limestone out. There's obvious marks of chiseling all
Oh, yeah.
over the place.
That's right.
Like the Serapeum tunnels, for example, look chiseled.
Yeah.
Now, was it a power tool? I have no idea.
Yeah. As for so he says, why were the door pieces made of copper? Well, we don't know that question. That's a good question. What are those things in the first place?
I don't even know if it's a door. I mean,
Yeah. Is it a door at all? And then he says, can copper or some alloy of it be tempered like steel to get to a harder metal that could then chisel limestone and granite? Well, I think copper, you could chisel limestone with copper. It would
Yeah.
still be...
and there
You
are
go through a lot of
harder
chisels.
alloys.
Yeah. You would go through a lot of chisels with the harder limestones for sure. I don't think you can get very far chiseling granite with copper, though.
Never done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely way harder than limestone.
Yeah. So he ends the email saying, fascinating stuff. I guess whatever void the muons found may be a key to unlocking a small part of this mystery, if we can find a way into that Pandora's box. Sincerely, from Greg. I agree.
still
with
waiting on that.
Still waiting on that data. Yeah.
I need to do more work in these various stones. Like Yusuf has this experience, working in all of these different stones. He's hammered them, he's chiseled them, he's used power tools on them. And so it gives him a very good eye to look at the artifacts. And I want that. So one of my goals also is to work in these harder stones, work in these softer stones by hand and with tools and with diamond edge saws.
Does he have worked pieces at his store, his
Yeah.
shop that
Yeah.
you can look at?
Yep.
Yeah. And I know I've told you folks this before, but the process of like working on napping flint has taught me so much about what I see on the ground in the flakes and in just in the patterns in stone itself. The way it flakes, the way it breaks, with flints and other silicates like that. And so I recognize work from some stones when I see them in Egypt, just from doing the napping.
Well, there's that piece that you talked about in the museum where you're like, they made perfect, enormously long flakes,
Oh my
one
God.
after the other. And you're like,
Unbelievable.
yeah. And you're like, okay, I've done napping. Like, this is very hard to do. And they did it over and over and over again, all the way across the
Exactly
piece,
the same.
exactly the same.
I have no idea. And I sent it to all my buddies and they were just like, WTF. It's like these guys that are all into the arrowheads
Yeah.
and stuff. They're just like, this is... Yeah, Egyptians made the best arrowheads in the world, folks.
Yeah.
Hands down.
The best
napped flint.
flint.
They are
objects.
not. They're swords.
Yeah, they're freaking swords.
The arrowheads that I've seen that came from Egypt at Johnson's house, at Bob Johnson's house, I was just like,
Yeah, those are
whoa.
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are awesome too.
Dude, those blew my mind.
Those are from out in the desert.
blew
Yeah.
my mind in the bathroom.
There's just buckets of them in his
Yeah.
bathroom. You're just
Yeah.
like, I hate
You're just like sitting down in the bathroom.
secretly Bob Johnson.
Like, what is
I'm
all
really
this?
mad at you right now.
You just want to swim in them like Scrooge McDuck, right? Just
Yes. Yep.
Yep. Come out as ground meat.
yeah, you would. You would. You would.
Okay, next. Are we done with
Yeah,
these?
next.
Yeah, we're done. Time is up. Let's
Jeez,
we got producers.
yes, we do. Let me pull it up here. We're really bad with three of us in here, folks. The tangents are flying.
I would like to say.
I'm not blaming that on you, babe. Don't.
I'm not. I was going to say something else.
Okay.
I would like to say. I would like to shout out special thank you to all content creators. I know you put a lot of time and energy into what you're doing. And there's a lot of us that get to benefit from that. And I think that's badass. So if you're a content creator, props from me to you for doing the hard work, you know?
Definitely.
Thank you, babe.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm talking to
very
you
nice.
guys, but
No, but
Talking
I,
to
He's not talking to
I'm
us.
saying-
I know.
I'm saying thanks for that
Yeah.
statement. I agree.
yeah. I mean, you guys do a good job too, but I'm just trying to tell, just trying to tell the world of content creators.
And I think we have quite a few here.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Might need to edit this down. Damn. All right, I'm going to
What's
start
wrong
here.
with just saying all of them?
I'm going to start here. Executive producers of this show.
This is amazing.
Gordon Plant. Thank you. He was on the Egypt trip with us. I actually roomed with him for a while. What's up, bro?
What's up, buddy?
Thank you so much. $100. And let's see here. Anonymous.
Yes.
$500.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anonymous.
You know who you are.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
Warm and fuzzy is all the way down. Do I read this? I'm actually curious. Trivest.
Trivest Incorporated
$100.
gave us $100.
Thank you so much. If you wanted to remain anonymous, sorry about that. Triple vest.
Is that Wanker?
I don't know, but I have an awesome vest from Superdry. And Tara Lee Sanders, $100.
Thank you so much.
Olesia Voronova, $100.
Ah.
What's up?
Thank
How
you.
are you doing? Thank you so much. She was also on the Egypt trip.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Is that it?
Wow.
That's the executive producers.
Those are the executive producers. And then we have Claire, who was also on the Egypt trip as an associate executive producer for $50. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Claire. Claire.
Claire. And I think that's it.
Thank you guys so much.
Unless I didn't go far back enough, but for some reason it's not showing me any further back than that.
There might be more. We'll figure it out. If we
We'll get
missed you,
more.
we'll make goods on the next episode.
Oh, look, there it is, past 30 days. Let me just check real quick.
Yeah, just check real quick.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Yep. Thank you for allowing them to do what they love, all of us to do what we love. This is
Did we do
dreams
these?
are
I
coming
think we did
true all the
those, yeah.
time over here, you know? Dreams are just
We
coming
might
true.
have.
over
I don't
here.
know if we did Peter.
I know some of these were for the baggage fees for the instruments that we brought on the Egypt trip. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
You're still getting executive and associate executive producerships.
I don't think
for
we
the show.
did Peter.
I don't think so either.
Peter's an executive producer as well.
Okay, Peter Beebe,
Yes.
$100. Thank you, sir.
Yes. And also we want to thank Paul Haslinger.
That's right.
Paul came, he showed up with his family right when we were leaving for Egypt, so we didn't get to meet up, but he went on a tour of the vineyard, went to the tasting room, had a great time with our buddies over there, and then he left us a box of gifts. So thank you so much, Paul. We really appreciate that.
Yes, and also he regularly donates to the show.
Yes, he is a recurring donor through PayPal.
Yeah.
Man, I wish we could have been there when he came through. But
I know.
Hey, Egypt.
Sorry we missed you, bro.
Yeah.
Egypt's very important.
Well, there's his total. Let's just make him an executive producer of the
I thought
show.
we have before.
Oh, we already did that, bro. Sorry, you just got X-nayed.
I could be wrong. It's been a month.
We'll give it to you on another day if we haven't done
Yeah.
it. Thank you so much, bro. And we heard that you and your family were lovely also.
Yes.
Because they came to the vineyard and got a tour and did
That's
all
right.
that. So I appreciate that.
That's right. All right, guys. I think that wraps it up for this week.
Thanks for coming on, Laura.
Thanks.
Hey,
Thank you for
everything I
coming.
could have asked for, guys.
Yeah, it was great. You guys can get a hold of us, brothersoftheserpent@gmail.com. Website, brothersoftheserpent.com. Support the show if you can. We do the value for value model. So if you get value out of the show, you can always give us value back through PayPal or through Patreon. We do have a Patreon page, and there is Patreon content. So if you donate to the show through Patreon, you can get a lot of the bumper music. You can get some of the funny little excerpts we've done, some of the commercials, and you can get Patreon episodes when we do them. So we do a Patreon episode maybe once a month or less, but we're trying to do more.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Once a month or less.
Sounds like a good motto.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Once a month or less.
I like it.
We're increasing the Patreon episodes for sure. What else?
Hey, we're increasing a lot of things.
Thanks to
around
the
here.
Discord, you guys were a blast while we were in Egypt. It's always a blast.
Oh my
If you
God,
want-
the memeing
the
was
memeing
so
of
hard
us.
and
Yes,
so
we're like
awesome.
we just post stuff like, please meme this photo, and they would just go to
And
town.
then they would just beers it. Like,
Yeah, it was
that's what I
amazing.
Dude, I love so many beers that you guys
So
put on
if
here,
you
man.
guys,
I appreciate it.
if you're listening to the show and you're not a member of our Discord and you want to hang out in an internet chat server with tons of channels and tons of different snakes, people who listen to the podcast, sign up to Discord, go to the website and click the connect button and you'll join our Discord. You got to pass a test to prove you listen to the show, because the Discord is for people who listen to this podcast. It's not a hard test, I think, but you can easily pass it with a little research and a little listen.
If you're a total noob, call Chris James. He'll tell you the answers. 1-800
Chris James.
GFY.
Thank you guys so much. We love you.
Always have.
Always will.
Good night, Dominic.
Get back to work.
There we go.
I love you the most. That's the part I screwed up.
Oh,
I jumped in, there was something else, and that's what I was supposed to say.
She loves you the most.
I love you the most.